Good. Alright. Received. Low. I haven't seen in so long. Oh. It's been a while. I had to set some stuff up. Alright. This music is probably blaring, but it won't be on for long. All right. This looks fine to me. I need to turn on one more thing. Where are we at? My phone cam is not on. Cool. Should be coming up. Awesome. Okay. See, do I show up? Cool. Alright. What's up, y'all? They're gonna let me know if this audio is okay or not. I assume this music's really loud. I can't hear the music right now. I assume it is loud. I could have my headphones on. I think there might be notifications that come in. I'll have them nearby. Yeah, I need to move the microphone over here. We're primarily gonna be over on this side. What is up? What is up, Ryan? How are you? Yeah, we're gonna be talking. We're gonna be chatting. It's been a while since I streamed. I'm turning this music down a bit. Hopefully that. I don't know if. Let me know if that volume's good, or maybe if you can't hear it at all anymore, which would be maybe ideal. I'm not a big music and videos person. Okay, we're here. We're at like the recording table. You can see my hands moving. You can see me. Maybe 20 decibels lower. Yeah, no, I'm sure it was super loud when you joined. I will wait if there is a response for what it's at now, but let me know. Gotta move this here. Been a while since I sat at the old recording setup. Not much of a solo player these days, but cool. Yeah, I'm trying to like think through 04. I'm trying to think through kind of the order I want to do and cover things today. It's at a good level. Thanks. Cool. All right. So there's a lot to talk about. I thought, get ahead of everything, I thought it was really great. I had a ton of fun going again this year. There's really not a lot to, I guess, say on that front. I think the event is usually run pretty well. I have like no like big qualms or anything with it. Let me see if I can bring up the YouTube live stream feed here. Okay, there we go. I have all the feeds around me. I'm like clicking the, all the screens around me. So I'm gonna be talking to the left a lot. Is there any way I can maybe change the order of these monitors so I don't have to look that way? So yeah, let's talk about the con. I don't know what order I want to start in. I think the easiest thing is just gonna be talking about how I packed and how that changed from last year. So last year I kind of had this like flip top thing that had a little bit of like those burger token boxes lined up in them. And that worked pretty well for me, but it didn't work well enough. And I was all about trying to think about, especially getting to the con, how can I optimize like my setup, pickup, and put down time. So a bit earlier in the year, I talked about how I travel with the Game Gen at Castle. So I think it's interesting to kind of reflect on how I thought it went, what was good, what was bad, and what I would do better in the future. In general, though, using the Castle, I think that it kind of ended really well. I think that being able to just flip up one side of this box right here and open and grab any of the decks that I made that I wanted was really good. Shout out to SDX for making these like half size ones that fit really perfectly into the Castle. I had these for these slots here, and then I just used 2 of the normal slots. An example of how I organize, if we just take one of these out and we look at it to the side, I just threw in little labels, very small words to know what they were. We got Captain America, She-Hulk, Baron Zemo, and Enchantress. Those are some of my villains. Then if we go to this other one right here, we have this one has Carnage. This one has Loki. I already took Carnage out. Con of Heroes definitely made me want to get a Castle. Hi, Charomeo, stay long, but glad my last con game was a 2-player game with you. Jubilee and Deadpool versus Hawkeye. We'll be able to the last 2-player game with you. Jubilee and Deadpool versus Hawkeye. Say, Matthew, you might be getting me confused. Oh, wait. Did I play? Oh, yes, St. Matthew. No. Now I know who now I know who you are. Yes, that was awesome. I didn't know that was the last game you played. That one was super fun. Sorry I was talking super fast and maybe not explaining Hawkeye as well as I should have. I was just trying to troll Kennedy Hawk and see how fast we could get that speed run down to. And we got it to like 18 minutes, right? Beating Hawkeye in a 2-player game. Yeah, I was getting confused because like that wasn't my last game, but if it was yours, glad we got that game in. Ton of fun. What's up, Dave? Con of Heroes definitely made me want to get a castle for sure, right? Like that's kind of what the thing was. So it didn't have to be a castle, but I knew that I didn't want to use these boxes again. So these are kind of highly recommended, and I did find another use for them. This is an example of one of the ones I brought last year, right? We got like cable leadership in here, and so like I'd have my deck in here, and then you flip it open, you pull the deck out, put it in. The only complaint I heard about anything at the convention is that PvP meta was kind of broken. We will get into that. Corbin kind of shared me a couple of his grievances, but yeah, I did not sign up for the PvP tournament. I was not part of any of that. That just wasn't anything I wanted to do at the con for sure. But yeah, so I used these last year, and I just felt like even the act of like opening these and like taking the deck out and putting them back in, it just took way too long. I really do prefer just being able to like, okay, I want to play like I don't know, I want to play Black Panther. Let me just grab Black Panther. Boom, we got our Shuri's right there. So I really did like the castle. I thought it was a great addition. It let me pick up and play a ton of games. In terms of how it was organized, I kind of had my villains in these two like white boxes. These are the kind of the normal ones the castles come with, and all these like half-size boxes that STX went ahead and modeled is where I had my heroes in. So again, I'm gonna try and lift this as best I can to maybe you'll be able to see the names on them. It's gonna be really hard actually. It's probably not gonna work very well, but let's see. Yeah, the names don't really come through super well, but I have these little like cardstock dividers here that I just measured and cut out. So as you see right at the very top, you can see like Venom. So it's just a way for me to at a glance pick out one of my heroes. I knew what aspects I was in. I tried and tested these decks a ton, and it was very cool. We also have Football Coach, who some people were on branding way more than I was. He has the whole business card for Marvel Champions, which I think is crazy. I don't want to dox him, but yeah, he's like a business email, his phone number, his football, what is it? His Discord tag. That's crazy. That's a level of branding even I'm not on right now. Let's see what Dave had to say. I'm glad I tried PvP. However, I found that I was not able to enjoy it the same way that we enjoy co-op. Rules dispute over 2021 rulings have higher stakes. Deck card substitutions were controversial, etc. Problems we don't deal with when we're on a team trying to play a fun game together. Yeah, exactly. I think PvP for me would be one of those things that I'd sit down with a couple of buddies I'm really close with, and they wouldn't be taken super seriously. We're not like super building meta decks or anything like that. Not to say I'm harping on or discrediting the people who did do that. I think if you want to grow it into like a fun and even competitive mode, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. What does a rule set look like? What does a ban list look like? What are like proper mods that you can mix in, etc. It's not easy work, and so I didn't want to partake in it. I had the feeling that it would be messy, not necessarily for anyone's fault, even the person who hosted it, but just for the nature of at that scale. I don't think there's been a PvP event run, and there was kind of like a lot of things building up into it, and I didn't have the time to commit to the mode to make something kind of cool to do. So yeah, these are the heroes. So I guess I can talk briefly about the heroes I brought. And then, yeah, just keep talking about my solution. So this one is a Silk deck. Silk, again, the theme of the heroes I brought this year were kind of like heroes that I gave a second look, plus some of my favorites. I brought a ton of heroes last year that were really a lot of my favorites, and I wanted to go the other end of the spectrum this year and try and revisit and make decks for heroes that I historically haven't had a ton of fun with. Silk was one of those heroes that I revisited after playing Wonder Man and realizing that I was kind of overreacting how much mental load and mental stack tucking cards was. That being said, I only did play her one time over the weekend, but I found that I was leaning myself in general towards faster tempo, faster gameplay, and things like that. And because of that, that just meant that Silk kind of naturally fell to the wayside. Interesting. Why is this not? Oh, the music just stopped for some reason. That's wild. No, I'd rather have the music on, actually. I take it back. We're back here in the live stream. So yeah, we were on Silk Justice. This is basically just like Shield Justice, a little bit of toolboxing stuff. We've got the operative skills. We got even the odds, of course. We're playing 4-player. We got the Spider-Man ally. We got, Monica Chang with the surveillance teams and Homeland Interventions. Just classic, Shield Justice stuff. You flip down, Silk gets her 2 cards, and hopefully one of those 2 cards is a Homeland Intervention. Go ahead and thwart for 6 once you go down. And yeah, that's pretty cool. This is the only one of the con decks I actually uploaded to Marvel CDB. We've got the Keys to the Queendom. We've got the Black Panther Shuri deck. This one is just all about resource reserve and giving people, money alongside a sidekick T'Challa deck. So you want to get your kind of your draw engine sorted out. You want the Elephant's Trunk, you want Queen Ramonda, you want stuff like that. And once you have that kind of sorted out, the Aja Adana, you can just keep like playing Beast, replaying him off Rapid Response. You can shuffle, what's it called? You can kind of shuffle your double Vibraniums back in with the Aja Adana, and then you sidekick T'Challa to get progress on the board. A lot of my turns, I'd be like, well, I can like kind of play an event and give you a double, and usually that double enabled someone to do something more than I could have done with my turn. It's kind of the whole idea behind the deck, and she gets pretty decent output turn over turn as long as T'Challa is out there. T'Challa with the side-by-sides and things. This deck list is on Marvel CDB, so I'm not going to go super far into it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I played that one a ton, and we'll get into the stats of my games a bit later. But again, just wanted to show what was really in my castle and how that worked out. We have Deadpool. I'm not a big aggression player, but this is a hero I gave another chance. I played him a lot in Marvel Rivals, so that he was super fun in that game. And so finally, I grew up and I was like, let me try him in Marvel Champions again. I really finally understood his acceleration mechanics and whatnot. And it was really fun to just kind of like, not care about the main, not care about the schemes, and just push damage on a character for once. I see why people like aggression. Aggression is not my aspect, but it was fun to play this hero. We have stuff, the It Ain't Over, which is a key part of his kit, but essentially we've got X-Mansion, we got Mutant Education to shuffle in his events, which he can search off his alter ego ability, whether you need thwarting or damage. And we just have stuff like full body charge. You get stuff that gives him a little bit of HP. The fun card that I was able to use in Deadpool was Plan of Attack, because he's almost always an alter ego. So let's say you wanted to do this card is fire and a maximum effort combo. Plan of Attack searches 7 cards on the top of your deck in order to find both of those pieces of that combo, so you can push damage when you're pushing for the game. Other than that, it's pretty par for the course. We have like some aggression resource generators. We have Moira. We have a little bit that give you HP, but it's Deadpool in red. There's not a ton to say about that. We've got Hone in the chat. What's up, Hone? Yeah, I think we probably should have split the PvP tournament versus the casual. Split the PvP tournament versus the casual PvP attendees in hindsight. Yeah, that might have been good. I think that I did plan on maybe asking people if they wanted to play PvP casually. But that being said, that didn't even end up happening. I just was too into playing the co-op mode and chatting and talking with a bunch of different people that it just wasn't on my mind to like sit down in the nitty-gritties of PvP. That doesn't mean I think PvP is a lost cause. I just think that maybe some of the, I don't know, I wasn't a person in the PvP tournament. Maybe some expectations were skewed from people who signed up and thought, oh, we're going to be playing like maybe a little bit of a higher tempo co-op decks versus the people who went like crazy insane combos and whatnot. Okay, then we've got Adam Warlock. Again, this is a deck that I have a video on the channel about. This was one of my easy con decks. Essentially, the whole idea behind this deck is to cheat value. Adam Warlock has a lot of things he wants to get on the table, like the Sorcerer Supreme and his Mystic Senses. So the idea is when you play one of those upgrades, I wanted to play a lot of 1 and 0 cost cards that let me play it while I was building out. Stuff like Clarity of Purpose, Regroup. We've got Welcome Aboard. We've got Maria Hill and Make the Call to give people cards while you're building out. We've got stuff like the Infiltration and Toe to Toe that uses only good stat in my opinion, which is HP and his 2 defense, in order to find card draw. I think there is a version of this deck that also has Taunt in it. I did not put that in here, but I think you could, make an argument. I have Magic Attack, Zone of Silence, but I don't have Summoning or Shield Spell because a lot of the allies I have are value allies. We have stuff like a Throg, we have stuff like Angela, where they're just not really huge value for a summoning spell, and since it discards the top cards of your deck, you can miss a key upgrade, and you don't want that to happen in my opinion. Moving on to the next deck I brought, it was Falcon in Protection. This one I did end up playing a couple of times. This isn't anything special. The whole idea is that really, we're just playing kind of value engine cards. You got like a Dr. Sinclair, we got Ever Vigilant to like take that off the main and do stuff. Essentially, you want to like mulligan for your battlefield awareness, I think it's called, to buff your basic stats. So be able to like thwart for like 5 or something, Ever Vigilant, and then hit something for 2 is just a lot of value. We've got Aerial Recon. We got Muster Courage to give your, the characters at the table tough because you're an Avenger. And this one is just like really simple protection, ready, give toughs. Like this one is not anything crazy. but it was fun and it was effective, and I'm a Falcon fan. Also, the encounter deck power and control you have on it is definitely, maybe it's overrated in solo, underrated in multiplayer. Still, being able to tell most of what encounter cards are coming your way, or the boost cards coming your way, being able to deal really easy encounter cards to specific players when you play a ton of aerial events is very strong and made my games run smoothly. Here is the man of the hour. We've got Wonder Man. If you guys saw anything about me in the con chats, this was the alt art I brought to the con. Super cool, super nice. The front looks like a magazine cover, and the back is some like really sick alter ego art with this iconic red jacket. And I got a special signature from someone right there, Frank, the person who designed Wonder Man from FFG during the panel. That was super cool. That's going to be the Wonder Man art I play with. I mean, obviously I made it. And this one isn't anything special. We've just got shield, not even shield. We just got aerial justice here. No yawn rolls, but we do have like everywhere all at once. You've got even the odds, and it's just like stuff to get built out, right? We have stuff like a small Earth's Mightiest Heroes package in order to give him an extra ready, because honestly Wonder Man does enjoy having an extra ready. It just kind of smooths out a lot of his turns, gets rid of his tug cards. Also, Char stays in hero form when he plays Falcon. Yeah, that is true. That is the only character I do, right? If I'm looking at all these other characters, actually I stay in hero form with Adam Warlock. You didn't get a chance to play with that one, but I played a Magneto game against Adam Warlock. It was like 11, 12 turns or something like that. I was in hero form until like one turn when I have to use the Soul World counter at one. But yes, Falcon and Adam Warlock, I'm in hero form the whole game. It's very not normal for me. Then we look here, we got Venom here in protection. This is again kind of a classic protection, but I've never actually done this playing like the one cost protection events with him and whatnot. So, we've got like the Armored Vest, a lot of one cost cards you can play. We got a Ready for a Fight off his hero ability. We got Desperate Defenses in here. My one funny card was Stand Together, which I don't think I had a chance to play a ton at the con, but you rest an Avenger. When a friendly character would take any amount of damage from an attack, you exhaust an Avenger and a Guardian, and you prevent all of it and deal that much back. Most of the games are in standard, so the attacks aren't high enough to make that super worth running, but it's just a resource otherwise. We've got Taunts, we've got Jocasta to grab your Grasping Tendrils. This is just like normal protection stuff, right? There's also an Excelsior in there to do a little bit of chick damage back to the villain if you find you don't have any of your kind of villain face cards you want to play. You can just put your resource sink into 2 damage to the villain or a minion on the table. Pretty cool. Then we have, the Woman of the Hour, She-Hulk, my favorite hero in the game. She flips, she does stuff. This is my, one of Avenge Me deck. I honestly didn't see as much Avenge Me at the con as I thought I was going to. Maybe it's because I was the one playing leadership, or maybe it's because people just didn't want to play because I thought it was broken. I was doing like a fake meta analysis before going to the con, and I thought I would see a lot more Avenge Me than I actually did, and it just wasn't the case. People just weren't playing the card, and I thought there would be a lot of it. I also thought there would be a ton of Evaluate Threat too. I think the first time I saw that card was the last game of the con Monday morning, and I'm the one who played it and cleared it, so it's crazy. I really did expect those to be kind of, really popular since they just came out, but no, I would say that was actually opposite of the case, and we'll go through kind of play-by-play of my experience here in a bit after I'm done looking at my, packing and whatnot, but yeah, that was really interesting to me. It's just She-Hulk in blue. We've got like Avenge Me in here. We got Black Knight to help us break Tufts. We got Squirrel Girl to help us break Tufts. We've got, Mighty Avengers. We've got a Limitless Stamina. I mean, it's just like small Avengers that can be chumped for Avenge Me to get extra card draw in order to, flip down, flip up, punch the villain, and do everything She-Hulk wants to do. All of her output is kind of relegated to her allies, the thwarting output, because most of her hero cards are pretty poor on that front. Finally, and the last thing in here, we have my little sideboard. These are the cards that I had to jump around between decks. Face the Pass was super popular for me, as it was throughout the whole con for a lot of people, and Manifold bounce between my Justice decks. Then we had my first and only current deck. We had Tigra and Aggression. So in case anyone wanted to play a current game, spoilers, it was never even brought up a single time. No one, I would say if you're going to a con, you're really invested into the game. You probably have the whole card pool. So most people are not out there seeking a current game. That being said, if somebody was, I wanted to bring a deck that was accommodating. So you have stuff like Hulk, Target Spotter. We have the one of Tenacity that I did play at the con. I played this deck a few times. This card's awesome. when thinking about current. It's not like spoiling for a fight or anything like that. So it's a way to get a ready. Sometimes a ready does get bogged down. You have to basic defend, and you need to be able to knock out one of your hunted minions to keep the ready train going and get value off your minions. We've got like Savage Strikes, a little bit of a small tactics package with like the air covers and stuff like that. And we got Moon Knight, we got Bring It, aggressive stance. Like this is just it's Tigra in red. All this stuff is pretty standard and par for the course. We got Hone in here, Chad, and let's see. I didn't see as many player side schemes as past cons. I had to take out anticipated attacks out of my Spider-Man protection deck. Is that something that attaches to a side scheme and does damage? I do not remember what that one does. But yeah, I would say in general, I didn't see a lot of player side schemes either. Last con, maybe there was just... Again, it's kind of hard to think about my last con because I played like 15 or maybe like 10 games of Cable Justice. So most of the side schemes were brought by me specifically. But I think people were just like ready to go, ready to rumble. And they were just kind of like punching things, right? They weren't like setting up a ton. They weren't like doing this like big combo. They weren't doing like, a lot of player side schemes. I thought people were just like ready to get to the table, hit the villain, hit some schemes and go. There wasn't a ton of like side schemes unless I was the one who played them. What's up, Mongoose? We're just sitting here chatting. We're talking about my, my experience a little bit right now, but this is just kind of how I packed. I brought the castle and whatnot. So something that may be kind of interesting is that, if you think of like you brought the castle, gives you a tough if a pass is in the victory play as a defensive end. Okay, if a player side schemes is in the victory play as a defensive end. Okay, I don't think I've ever played that card, but yeah, that would make sense to include if you thought there would be a ton of clears for sure. That was essentially my, I really loved the castle on the deck side. I was just able to flip it open, slide a deck out, and get ready to go. There was not a ton of setup. I guess the last pocket I didn't talk about was because I have the villains in these kind of like back two white boxes. This is kind of where I kept all like my standard sets and whatnot. So this awesome standard set was given out as the bingo prize by Bananas. But, I have standard 3 here. I had standard 2. I had standard 1. I never played standard 2, but I brought it just in case. And then we had, what's it called? We had kind of my Baron Zemo stuff because it didn't fit in these bins very well. But yes, I did play Baron Zemo once or twice at the con, I think. And he's my favorite, one of my favorite villains in the game. And whoever I can con into playing a game of Zemo with me, they're in for a good time because I know all the rulings, I know how he works, and they don't have to worry about the setup where all these fake complaints of, oh, setup takes too long. Y'all are wrong. You heard it from me. Baron Zemo, best villain in the game. All right, let's check the chat. Yes, speedrunning Hawkeye was great. Ah, yes. Yes, speedrunning Hawkeye, a classic. Oh, Micah, what's up? Hey, thanks for playing a fast game against Hawkeye to get me one last game right to catch the shuttle. It was a pleasure getting games and conversations with you. Yeah, Micah, it was awesome. We had some great chats for sure. We were like definitely in kind of like the degenerate late night pods when we played the most. So glad on Sunday we actually got a game in when the sun was up, when the daylight was out for sure. Yeah, no, it was a great time. Okay, that's about it for how I packed and traveled with the game. But it's not all. So when you think you have a castle, you're like, oh, a bunch of people walking around with castles. They get their deck out on one side and they get it and they flip it over and then they get all their tokens and stuff out of the other side. But actually for me, I was thinking about this because I travel with the castle every Saturday to go play Champions in my local space. This is how I have it set up back to normal for Champions in my normal area, but this is not what I did at the con. I actually took out all of my tokens and dials and stuff from this side, and I actually threw them in a small separate container. The reason was I thought the fact of flipping this over, opening them, taking all these little token trays out for every single game, then when the game was done, flipping it back open, putting them all back in, closing it, flipping to the other side, putting my decks in, that sounded like too long for me. When I tell you I thought about this and I was optimizing for time, I loved the castle. I loved the deck, like sliding the decks in and out, but having to flip it over and take all the token boxes out, that was not for me. So what I did end up doing, and I'll go ahead and grab this, was that I had this little, and I'll grab this as well. I had to get up and grab it. It's on the side of my room. What I did end up doing was just grab this kind of like little plastic box thing. So as you can see, kind of like how I had it separated was like the ready exhaust tokens and my player dials. it was like damage. It was all my dice, so it was like the damage and threat dice, and also my counters and ally dice. And then the last one, I kind of forgot what I put in the last one. I'm trying to think about it. Anyways, I probably have a picture in one of the kind of gallery photos we're gonna go into next. But essentially, I never wanted to open this side of it and take those little trays out, so I didn't. I opened the deck side of it only, and then I had this kind of little, shoulder bag that I carried along with me. So like I had this shoulder bag. I would throw this like plastic box into one of these front pockets here, or usually at the end, by the end of the con, it like barely fits in one of these pockets. I just threw it in the main bag here along with my mat, and that's how I walked around. I had the castle in hand, and then over the shoulder I had this bag with this little tray and my mat and anything like villain dials or villain boards. Sometimes I would set up like the little villain stands. Other times I put it in the middle of the table. And I would say like that worked super well for me. I was trying to like theory craft the best way to like move around and optimize having a good time at the con. And that worked really well for me. I had known from doing kind of like going to my locals that I didn't want to mess with all these little tablets, even though when you go to a locals once a week, yeah, I can slide out all these little token boxes because I usually don't move around. We play like 2 or 3 games at the local game shop. So when I'm done, I flip it back open, I put them all back in. But if you're like me and you played 30 plus games over the weekend, that's a lot of setup and tear down that I just didn't want to add. That was a lot of yab just for how I travel with the game, but I hope that was informative to anyone who is wondering, maybe checking out this in the future or anything, if I decide to edit this down, on how to travel and think about traveling with the game. There's a lot more setup and a lot more pickup than you would originally think, and it's just par for the course to kind of think about that and talk about the game. So now I want to go ahead and discuss kind of like my play-by-play, and then we'll get into like viewer call-ins if anyone wants to chat about the con, their own experience or anything like that. Or I'll just talk about kind of the feedback and discussion section at the very end, because Hone had a couple of questions he wanted me to like ruminate on and think about and answer, and so I wanted to give that spot for like honest and open feedback about the con. And I invite you guys, we were talking about the PvP tournament a bit earlier, to have honest, open feedback about the con, because it's pretty important for like improvements in the next year, right? No one's perfect, no event is perfect, but as we strive to make better events, it's just par for the course, and it'd be cool to have that happen. So give me 1 second here. We will go. I wonder if there is a way to, let me see. Could do like preview. How do I preview? This has been a while since I've streamed. I have said this. So maybe if we can like flip these screens real quick. I go like this, like this. Did you pre-assemble your scenarios for speed? That is a good question. The answer is kind of. So that was one thing that I am one of those people that can tell when the encounter deck is kind of different, right? Like when the backs are kind of different, I use sleeves. That being said, I did consider, but I switch standard sets often enough that I thought that setup time wasn't too bad. That I just did choose at the end of it that I wasn't going to pre-assemble like the standard or expert sets in there, that I was just going to, what's it called? I had it in that front left pocket of the castle, and I knew that's where all of my standard sets were. So whenever I was making the scenario, I would go ahead and like shuffle in one of those standard sets. Now my stuff did kind of fall apart a little bit when we got the standard leader set and we got Hawkeye and Spider-Man, because I did not account for how much space it would need to take up in my box. That's why I had like separate deck boxes with me, and maybe you will see them in these pictures as I swap to desktop. Okay. I don't know if my Elgato is working right now. It doesn't look like it is, which is really unfortunate. I wonder if I can. I'm probably just gonna have to like restart stream low key. Let me see. Is there any way I can like do this, plug it back in and have it work? That would be crazy if it did, because usually it doesn't. Oh wait, maybe. Are we up? Are we live? Definitely enjoyed to fill out the post-con survey. Oh, okay. I did not even. I mean, I got the email for the survey, but I have not filled that out. Nope, I have not. Oh, okay. We're live. We're live. My camera's on. Cool. All right. So let's talk about this. So this was me leaving SAT. This is the airport, right? This is what I sent to kind of my family and friends before I boarded the terminal. Then we have kind of like a time skip, and y'all are like, "What the hell is this? Like, this is terrible storytelling, Char. What are you doing?" Trust me, we'll get there. Hold on, I need to find my notebook where I took some notes and stuff. Actually, this is kind of, I should have just talked about my games and stuff I played, but you're welcome for printing too many cards. Yeah, exactly. I was not prepared. I can't wait to kind of play it. Local play groups. There's a ton of stuff for us to play and try out. This is the taco place that was right by the hotel. I just had to send pictures of this to my parents and my family because I was like, this is crazy. Kind of like what I would say is, can't say for long, wanted to say hi. What's up, man? I have 226 cards and dividers pre-con, and had to ensure I had spots for the con content. See, look, Dave was one step ahead of me, man. Like I wasn't even what's it called? I wasn't even there with y'all. We'll actually pause it for a little bit just so I can kind of talk to the story without a ton of music in the background. If you guys preferred the music, let me know. I'll put it back on. Yeah, so this is the spot. It was called, what was it called? Taco Libre, right next to the hotel. Look, I am a Mexican man from Texas, and I saw a restaurant called Taco Libre in Minnesota, and I think, rightfully hesitant. That being said, I'm glad I was wrong. This place was very good. Now, was it the most authentic Mexican food ever in the world? Definitely not. But it was also good. So it's not a problem, right? Like, I was thinking it was gonna be like some Taco Bell situation. And look, if y'all like Taco Bell, I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. You're wrong, but I'm not here to say that, right? My friend got so mad that I didn't order the birria tomahawk. I only went there after I heard your seal of approval. See, thank you guys for respecting my opinion as a Texan in San Antonio and a from Mexican descent. Yes, it got my seal of approval. It was very good. I thought the portion size was crazy. I mean, like, look at this. Like, what kind of... I don't even know what they call this. I don't think this is something that's actually like a Mexican dish. But it was good, so, like, who cares? This place was really good. This is where we went right after the plane. What did I do on the plane? I read through kind of Assorted Crisis Events. It's this comic by Dennis Camp. He's the one who wrote Absolute Martian Manhunter. And low key, that Assorted Crisis Events, we're getting on a tangent here. Let me see if I can find the book. This thing was not a good primer for the convention. Where did I put it? I put it over here, right? I mean, this art. If look, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent. This is my stream. We get to do whatever. This is what I read on the flight. I read 4 out of the 5 issues in here. It was really good. The art is amazing. It's fantastic. Like the lettering, the graphic design. This is a solid book. That being said, a lot of these stories are kind of depressing. So it was a very bad primer for the con because I'm like, man, I didn't want to be like kind of thinking, I'm here to like, kind of turn my brain off, like kind of crash some games. And this was not a good start to it, but it was an excellent book and I recommend it. I would say if you're in a good headspace and you're open for some kind of deep introspective thinking, would recommend. And I didn't even finish the 5th issue, which I would say wraps the story up in a very nice way, in a very hopeful way that I think the other 4 issues didn't. Not a good start. That being said, the food got my mind off of it, and then we started gaming, right? It's day 0. We're here Thursday night. We're gaming. First game of the con, it appears I was playing Silk Justice here, sitting next to Rogue. I was also pleasantly surprised by this as a Texan. I think I read that in my head, but yeah, no, it was actually good. It was crazy. I was not expecting that. So this is the first game of the con. I think this is Zach over here, right? Zach was another person that was a joy to meet and get multiple games with across the con. He was great, and he was playing, his Wonder Man deck. I did a Silk Justice. I think this is the only Silk game I got. Sitting next to Hayden, my friend Boundless Green on this SPDR. And again, Football Coach. Yes, Football Coach was the first game I had of the con. He was playing his Rogue. We went ahead and we crushed. Who do we fight here? We crushed my She-Hulk scenario with like the sitcom mod sets. Yeah, I mean, this was just a great start to the con. One thing I realized about the con is like, I'm going to get in there. I'm a good player. I'm going to be playing these expert games. And that did not last very long. Again, what I'm going to say here is my experience, and it's not a scathing remark to anyone I played with or anything like that. I play a ton of expert, and I can play expert games fast. The thing is, when you suggest expert at a table, in my opinion, it feels like there are people who don't want to say no. whether they like play expert regularly or they play like half the time or they play it from time to time, if you're the one to bring up the difficulty, most people won't want to say no. And I think that was causing me issues in terms of like game length and enjoyment and whatnot at the beginning of the con. I think I had like 6 or something extra games throughout the con, and I think most of them were day 0 and beginning of day 1. And by the time I was kind of like in the afternoon of day 1, I was like, man, I gotta stop playing these expert games. Like, I think I had diagnosed why I was kind of like feeling going through the motions while the games felt like they were taking a tad longer. And again, that's not necessarily like they're playing bad or their deck is bad, or like sometimes the encounter deck just beats you up, or like the stats are a bit too high, or the deck isn't as optimized as well as it could have. There's so many different ways, and it doesn't even have to be on the other people. It could have been on my deck building, or like how I brought this deck into the scenario. There's so many things that caused me to not want to play expert more so throughout the weekend, but I am glad I got a couple of really solid ones in that felt really fun and unique and challenging. Pretty sure I only played maybe 5 extra games. Yeah, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. I primarily play expert, and if I'm really sitting down with a play group I know well, like when I sat down with Hone and Chase and Hayden, I know those guys. I know they make like really strong decks, and I know they're like strong players, and like they understand really like the nitty gritty intricacies of the game, right? It's not like there's people who there are definitely people who don't do that, but I'm not expecting everyone to do that. That's kind of where I'm coming from. And because I would suggest expert and put this expectation on people, I feel like people didn't want to be the ones to say no. So when I started changing my tune, I'm like, we're getting a standard game, right? Almost everyone was like in open arms, kind of like, yes, right? I don't think I was ever suggested an expert game if it didn't come from me. Like, I think I was the only one pushing for expert games, and as soon as I stopped doing that, everyone was fine with standard, and I had a good time. I had no problem playing standard. There were some great games. Aggression feels a bit more fun as the whole table can kind of like rush down the villains. I had a ton of fun with standard, but first game was definitely expert right here. Second game, I got to meet Jeff in person. Jeff has been, a long-standing friend of mine online, kind of in the community, and we've been playing a ton of games and cooking a ton of decks. Leading up to the con, I'd been helping him with some of his decks and whatnot, and he had been helping me play test mine. Ton of games in the webcams, ton of webcam games done. It's awesome meeting Jeff. He's such a joy to be around. Like, he's just such a nice guy. Like, I don't know what else to say. He was super tired that first day. I'm super surprised that I'm super surprised that he was even up gaming after that super long drive. It was crazy to me. He was a trooper. But yeah, second game was with Jeff and also with Bananas. What a joy. Again, what another great pillar in the community. A joy to kind of like interact with and just talk to, and like, in and outside of the game, and also the super great alt-art he gave. Man, like meeting with like the webcam group basically second game as well, football coach in the first game. It was just super cool to try to meet all these people on day 0 and have a bit more of like, I would say, closer conversations. The hall wasn't as filled up as much. There wasn't as much noise. Super good, super great time. Hello, Adis. Do you have Pokemon cards or bulk for trade or buy? I think you're asking the wrong person. I might have some stuff from Black and White era, but I would say in general, no. Maybe Hayden does, if you want me to reach out to him on your behalf. How many heroic games do you play? A big fat 0. I'm not, no heroic for me. We're not. You actually have 1, right? Maybe 2. You guys fought that crazy aggression rhino on heroic. Yeah, no, I'm again, if you sat me down and like someone else that I knew was like, let's play heroic absorbing man, sure, let's knock it out, right? Like let's have a fun time. But I am not, I'm not gonna be the one playing heroic. I say that much. I'll break into your house. Thanks. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's not a ton. I think I sold a lot of it when I was a kid, which I kind of regret. But there's maybe some bulk stuff in there. This is the game we played with Jeff, Hayden, Bananas, and I. Bananas was on like this was my first Deadpool game. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a good weekend. You see all the acceleration tokens. It's on the main 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that little Con of Heroes first player token was a 6 token. We had Innate over on the main. Cap never even popped his first scheme with all the extra acceleration tokens. I got to do the freaking maximum effort into this card is fire nonsense. I got bananas. I think I had her tap for exhausted personality to draw 4 cards, and then I had her tap in a later turn to draw 6. This deck is just stupid. This character's just dumb. We get the double justice going, so Jeff's kind of brain versus Brawn Rocket could pop off. And then we had Hayden on the Silk Justice, who was protecting the table, especially for the Angel and the Rocket who needed it. Super cool, super awesome, super fun. Game 3, we got to play with Vane. I don't know actually how to pronounce Aaron from the Discord as well. Super great guy. I mean, it was just a super great, personality and fun to be around. And they're just such a great person to interact with. They handed me like these alt-art binder to look through and get a couple of them. I said I would come back for the Miss Marvel and Doctor Strange, but I was too busy over the weekend to kind of go back on that offer and pick those up, but I'm sure those cards all found good homes. They were playing with this Doctor Strange protection deck with a bit of a like nerf obligation card that said once a card was played from the invocation deck, it's removed from the game. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that people can play the game in any way they want to. I'm not a person that I think any character in this game is too broken or overpowered, that if you shouldn't feel bad, I guess, about. I don't think that's the reason they put it in there anyways. I don't want to like speak for them, but I'm a person that I don't think should feel bad if you like really like Strange, or like you want to sit down at the table with a really strong hero and feel like you need to nerf it to make the game competitive. I'm not of that mind. I think Strange is super fun and he can be really awesome in multiplayer. How much he can support the table in green specifically. I think the deck I played against the most, or sat next to the most, besides SPDR, because of course Hayden, my friend that I came with, brought it SPDR. Besides that hero specifically, I think Green Strange was the deck I sat next to the most. I think compared to last year, or maybe there's a bit of stigma against Strange, or like people playing him at the first con. I don't actually know if there was one even back then. That feels like a multiple years ago thing. But I sat next to a ton of Strange, man. Like, I'm not complaining. He's keeping me up. He's giving me toughs. He's keeping me defended. It was a great time. We knocked out Vane's or Aaron's kind of Vision Kang mod set mashup here. It was really tough. The Kang mods are really difficult, but we were able to find the kind of win in the end, and I got my Black Panther game in. I think this is day 2. I think I'm sitting next to, I think this was Chase, if I had to guess. And I kind of forget everyone who I got games with, right? But we played this Hawkeye. I used kind of like, this is like this had to be start of day 1, right? Finding the Hawkeye leader. I thought the Hawkeye leader was great. Again, this isn't dedicated like feedback section or whatnot. I really just liked kind of the gaming mechanics of like the boost effects tucking the arrows, and the arrows giving him a bunch of little tiny effects. And every single card in his deck is an arrow, right? He doesn't have like a single like side scheme or anything. I just thought it was super cool, and means that like he's kind of a modular villain, that like that modular sets that or the kind of, what's it called? The extra encounter sets that you can mix in with it will probably make him feel different from time to time. Maybe you put in more side schemes, or maybe you put in minions here or there, because everything else is kind of like an event that surges, which means like any mod set you throw in, you see more often, because like he's just tucking the arrow or doing a small effect and then getting you a different card to look at. I thought it was super cool. It was really fun, especially as the first one. We got to try out standard leaders here, which is also a really fun mod set. Kudos to the team as always. We got to start off with She-Hulk as our chosen leader, because of course the best hero in the game. And yeah, it was just like really fun. We sat next to, we played with Iceman here. We had Tigra in protection with pin down shenanigans. I was playing the Corbin, printed me out, and shout outs to Corbin for giving me the MCDC stuff and like the Mr. Negative that I didn't ask for. He must have saw me chatting and realized that I didn't have a copy of it, which is, super kind of him to do that. The 100 Wonder Man alt arts and that I can hand out, and the Mantis custom. Big shout out to Corbin for just kind of like organizing and kind of spearheading that big print order right before the con. It's really nice to not have to worry about that myself. So again, big shout outs to him. I played this Mantis custom. I could talk about this a bit later, but I thought that the Mantis was really interesting, how it dealt with confuses and whatnot. But again, let's get through the recap of the games. If I talk about every single game, we're going to be here all week. So again, I took a screenshot of this kind of board stakes. I'm at peak performance. We're playing She-Hulk on the She-Hulk mat. What could be better than this? We also have a little bit of a sneak peek of what my little token holder looked like right here. This is what I was talking about. So I had like the ready exhaust tokens right here. I had the Stunning Confused and my ally health and counters. And then at the end, we had the acceleration tokens alongside the first player tokens and the threat and damage tokens. So this was worked really well for me that I had to flip to the other side of the castle. Just got to take this little thing around, and boom, it was like my own little token holder to carry around for all the games. Second game we got in was against Spider-Man. Spider-Man, again, like I was playing, I got to get a game in with the person who designed it. I thought Spider-Man was really cool, and I really liked how he interacted with kind of the Justice mod set too. That's the kind of one we chose to do because we thought it'd be super thematic. The core box Spider-Man pre-con is Injustice, so why not give Spider-Man the Justice, aspect modular set and see how that worked. I thought he was pretty cool. I was really scared. I think maybe a bit hesitant the first time I was playing him because I was like, oh man, like maybe not hesitant. Maybe I was like the opposite of that. I was trying to rush the counters down because like, oh man, what if he has like an effect where like if the counters go high enough or something, then he's gonna do this really bad effect, or it's like take indirect equal to the counters divided by 2. So we were trying our best to get the counters down, but again, we still did have to build out a little bit. And yeah, I thought it was super fun. I thought some of the cards he had were super thematic. I like that his built-in mechanic is reducing damage because, core box Spider-Man is so hard to take down. He's got that 3 defense stat. He's got the backflips, and he got the Aunt May. He's nigh unkillable when you're playing as him. So to be able to translate that into a leader is very, very cool and fun. I gave all my Civil War leaders steady, which again made him even more hard to game, right? And then again, we're sitting next to SPDR Hayden. Then also we played with, I think this is when we played with Dave right here. I think this is Dave playing his Ghost Spider Protection. Super fun game. Again, always a highlight to get a game in with Dave once again. And yeah. You didn't have to hold your punches back on the design. It has to be, again, I liked him. You're asking me to compare to a lot of these Civil War villains, which I think are kind of like whatever. Like, I don't know. You compare them to something like, I think you self-reflected on it too, where it was like, this idea is like, I think this idea has a lot of room and it's very cool. But I think you said it yourself that it does kind of irk you a bit or kind of suck that Black Widow had a very similar mechanic that also came out around the time maybe you were designing this. So it is very reminiscent of Black Widow, but I do like the fact that his whole thing is reducing damage dealt rather than dealing with threat. Again, I think these two ideas are very similar, and he was really tough to beat on Expert with that protection mod. That is a gross combination. If you guys want to be in the game and be punching on a villain for multiple turns, play that protection mod with this Spider-Man on Expert. I'm telling you. Yeah, you better hit hard and hit often. Again, maybe there will be a challenge card next year where if he gets to a certain number of web counters, you lose a game or something like that. He doubles the amount he puts down or something like that. That might be really interesting because I feel like there is an opportunity to do something about the web counters going up. Especially, standard, villains are easy on standard. It's really hard to talk about balance and whatnot. But I think there is an opportunity for something really cool to kind of tie more into his web counters than just reducing damage. Again, I haven't read through the whole encounter set or really done a deep dive in analysis. And I think that's maybe out of the scope of this stream. But maybe I'll have more thoughts once I've played him in kind of my locals, played him in Expert, played him with a couple different mod sets, and just really see how he feels. I'm definitely looking forward to doing that. With all the content, man, there's just like so much stuff I didn't get a chance to play. I think there was that one Thor mod set that was for PvP only. There was this Hawkeye modular set that I didn't ever get a chance to play. Like, I really like I was not around for the con for standard decisions, but I was a really big fan of that mod set to just throw into it, give people some card draw at a cost and they don't know what the cost is, which I think is a super fun idea to play around with. I really did like that mod set, but we're getting ahead of ourselves on the campaign a little bit. Moving on to the next game, what did we end up playing? Oh, we were playing Enchantress here, but this was right before kind of the developer panel, which is, we'll get a little bit of spoilers here. I did write a couple notes in this notebook about what they said. They didn't really do like huge spoilers, but it was super cool that they did give us a reveal. That being said, we got like a skirmish game in against Enchantress. I'm pretty sure we would have won this game. So there's not a ton to say about it. We just got a skirmish game in. Then we went to lunch with Daring Lime with Alec. It was a great time. We got a good conversation. Being able to meet Alec in person was awesome. again, one of my closest friends in the community for sure. And just being able to chat and play games and have a good time and like kind of swap decks and play each other's decks was a good time. I was playing Star-Lord, his Star-Lord deck this game. He was playing my She-Hulk deck this game. I'm pretty sure he got a Gamma Slam off. We were fighting Loki. We kind of were like the last minute heroes with the big Loki event. We just decided to go and get food because we were all starving. So we got in the last kind of, hundreds of HP. We got dealt in as a table, and we saved the multiverse without having to sit through the entire convention. Let's talk about the developer panel real quick. I had a couple notes here. The devs, some of the stuff I thought was super cool that they talked about was that the waves are a lot more collaborative where they weren't in the past. In the past, a lot of the waves were very isolated. They self-admitted that like one of the designers would work on a wave all by themselves while the other designers worked on a different wave. But now that they have 3 designers, they kind of work a bit collaboratively on these waves. Now there's still like a wave owner, like the owner of the wave or the main lead designer, but I think it's super cool if the designers are aware of all the cards going in the card pool, how they interact, and the fact that they can make kind of these informed decisions together rather than being in their own separate waves, I think is only a boon for the game. I would say that we got a little bit of teases at Luke Cage and how they were going through the struggles of making him basically immortal, but not actually. Like there has to be a series of cards or villains that can knock him out. I'm super excited for that. It feels like it'll be another similar to a Colossus situation, but I wonder how they'll make him different. Then what we'll do is they were talking about stuff that breaks away from standard scenario design with the modular scenarios in Fear No Evil. Again, that's something I'm really looking forward to. I think there's so many rooms in this game for something like a Hela or like an Apocalypse, kind of like you're going through these journeys or trials on a scenario, or just different ways to show the adventures, show the fight you're doing, that I'm super looking forward to. Again, they didn't have any specifics on that. The fact that they admitted, and they've probably said this in the past, that the more well-known heroes are made to be intentionally simpler or more approachable or have like a lower skill floor and like still have a high skill ceiling. Where however you wanted to say that, they basically self-admitted that Daredevil was, he has the 222. He's approachable because they want people who aren't into the game to be able to latch onto a popular hero and be able to execute and have fun with. And I think that's super fine. And you could kind of tell in their design in general, but it's nice to have something like that kind of confirmed. What did we have? I love that Frank is working on Iron Fist. I really do love, Wonder Man, and I do like Hercules. So if he has some kind of like interesting form switching mechanics, his kind of martial arts stances and whatnot, definitely looking forward to that. They also described Luke Cage as one of those very simple heroes and Elektra as someone who is complex. So definitely looking forward to that. They also talked about making a concerted effort to fix the bursting problem between stages 1 and 2 of villains, or 2 and 3 of villains. Again, you saw the very heavy-handed approach of Civil War that says when you flip the villain, you cannot damage them anymore at all for the rest of the phase, forcing you to deal with the villain phase. I think that does fix a solution, but I wish it wasn't such a heavy-handed way. So I'm looking forward to how they try and tackle this problem in the future of making the flip more impactful and not just like a formality to like burst it down in 1 to 2 turns, because it's not strong enough to actually rest that tempo back under your control or the villain's control. I think Aaron was talking about kind of making a lot of rubber band effects. I'm not sure if it's Tony, Aaron, and Frank, I think, right? I always forget the third designer's name. My fault if that's not actually his name. He's talking about how he makes a lot of rubber bands effects, and something I didn't really think about, how an effect that says deal 1 damage to each character is an effect that is less punishing when you're behind, but more punishing when you're ahead. Because in general, if you have a ton of allies and you're able to build a ton of allies on your board, you're usually getting a big resource advantage over the villain. And I thought that was a really cool way of thinking about design that I hadn't thought about it before. Making these kind of rubber band effects that punish you more when you're ahead and less when you're behind. Again, maybe down the line, if I'm hosting some sort of con coming up, that would be interesting thing to think about design-wise. But again, I'm not a designer. I've never made a scenario. But it was still cool to hear kind of like masters at their craft talk about what goes into it. It's amazing that Frank stopped by even though he is on paternity leave. Yeah, I thought that was crazy, and it was super appreciated. I'm glad I got his signature and was able to chat with him a little bit about Wonder Man and how much I enjoyed his designs. I thought that was great. I mean, I thought the fact that all of them stopped by was great, but that one was definitely like, wow, that was not, expected or required, but like super cool that it happened nonetheless. And then I think the last thing they spoiled was that one of the last modular scenarios is called the art heist. I don't know if that was actually spoiled in the con panel and they were kind of joking about it. I can't remember and keep everything straight in my head on what has been revealed or not from Fear No Evil, but we do know there's an art heist scenario coming, which is super cool and super awesome that they shared with us. As always, the developer panel was super cool. I love the fact to just be able to like, even though you don't have like a super long conversation or not everyone's going to get a game with them, just the fact to be able to chat with them about this game we all love, it's their job to make this game. And I think maybe it works both ways when they're very appreciative of or surprised at the amount of turnout and the amount of kind things people have to say and wanting their autographs like they're celebrities, which they kind of are, right? They make this game we all love to play. They're super good at it, especially recently with like kind of the hero design and whatnot. So it's definitely super fun. It's always a highlight, and fingers crossed it stays as a recurring event, right? It was kind of like a secret event this year on the calendar. There's some murmurings that the devs were going to be there, but I hope that it stays a consistent event for the con to have the devs come out and continue to have a showing. They also handed out like the Civil War leader promos at Gen Con that I was thinking of buying at one point, but I'm like, nah, maybe I'll get my hands on them one day. The fact that I was able to get that set of promos was awesome. The fact that they handed out the OG Gen Con promos, which were some promos that, again, I thought that I would probably never get my hands on. I have most of the promos in the game, and now I think I have almost all of them, minus like the Spectrum and the, the Valkyrie ones that were only printed in German. There's no, it's like one of those things that it would be cool to collect everything at one point, but I doubt it'll ever happen. But the fact that I was able to complete some of those just from them showing up was super cool. Bit of a water break, been yapping for almost an hour straight. All right, I'm going to continue talking about the recap here. So, this was kind of us saving Loki at the very end of the game. Again, I don't know when the days start and the days end here, but this is another game where I got to sit down with Magic. I forgot. Oh, I think is this Finn? I think this is Finn, right? Being able to meet Finn again, put a face to a name was super cool. I was helping him make decks, test his decks on Discord through webcam games and whatnot. So the fact I was able to see those decks in action, have a really fun time. That was great. Oh, this is the Baron Zemo game. I think this was one of those games that ran really long. Again, to no problems anyone's own. I got to meet Paulina, which is Alex's fiance. She was great. She was such a joy, and she kind of took it on the chin, swapping into a game mid-game that Alec was kind of building out this board on Shuri Black Panther, and she had to figure out where we were at in the game, what to do to prevent us from losing, and she was able to do that effectively, and that was awesome to kind of like play a 5-person game essentially because someone tagged in halfway through. I was playing my Wonder Man, Justice, trying to keep the board under control. We got Hercules and Aggression, dealing all the damage we needed to Baron Zemo. We got Magic. I think this is a protection deck. I can't actually remember because I can't see one of the cards. And then we got Pool Shuri, just, when she does best activating, using her upgrades and whatnot. Super fun, super, super cool. It's another game. Again, I don't know when. Oh, this is day 2 maybe, right? No, this is still day 1. This is a game with Terrence Hone, Sir Hone in the chat right here. This is my Falcon game where I didn't flip down apparently, which is very new to me. This is the game we got against Aggression, Captain America. The mods that I gave Cap didn't really give him a lot of extra activation, so I would say that the Aggression didn't really fire. That being said, if you put them with a mod set that gives them some extra activation, symbiotic strength or something like that, this thing could definitely pop off for sure. Hone was playing the Psylocke Justice deck with the Float Like a Butterflies, and then we were also sitting next to this guy in Nebula Aggression that said he didn't get his deck to fire the last game, but in this game it was doing a lot of work. It's doing like overkill and stuff like that. Really fun game. I got to keep the shield from Cap for a couple times. Got to flip down with aerial evac. Play some Falcon events and punch on Captain America. And we had another game here. Getting here late. Didn't flip down with Falcon. Were you not using his health as a resource? So I think for this game specifically, if I'm looking at my board state, I think I saw the... What's it called? The thing about Cap is that you kind of want to defend his attacks because you don't want to keep giving him a shield back. So I was having to basic defend a lot with the battlefield awareness. Also, I think that I saw the soup kitchen too early and it didn't make sense with my hand, so I had to either mulligan it or use it as a resource. And so I kind of like Falcon for that flexibility where he can kind of like do a little bit of give and take. If you want to lean into taking damage, flipping down and healing, or you want to lean into actually basic defending and perfect defending with Peter Flammable, I think he can kind of do both. He's kind of toolboxy in that way. It just did not work out in this game, right? It just I saw the cards in the wrong order, and since I saw them in the wrong order, I had to pivot and make what worked. I want to recommend aggression mod set with Rhino or Juggernaut. I think I remember the Juggernaut mod set, kind of like the recommended mod set for the campaign. I think that's the decisions one, right? Or the tough choices. I always standard choices, whatever it's called. That one was really fun because Juggernaut. Again, I think you guys did a really great job at designing the recommended scenario ones. I know Kennedy Hawk and you were kind of in the Discord telling people like, no, you don't actually need to bring these villains. But I thought the Juggernaut one was very cool because a lot of Juggernaut, he can feel tough, but when his choose effects turn into having to do both, he feels really tough. And I thought that was a super good, matchup for that campaign. But we haven't got there yet. Then we got another game here. This is my first game with Micah CJ. I think this was a Cody too, Spider Bruh, another fellow YouTuber, and someone, again, I was doing a lot of I would say coaching or helping people bring who are new to multiplayer or primarily solo players, helping these people to make decks that they felt confident in, they wanted a second opinion on, test it with them in webcam games. So the fact that I was able to sit down and kind of see this Angel deck doing work on the table against the Hawkeye leader with these kind of leadership stuff going on. We got revenge on leadership Hawkeye because Cody and Stretch22 had played the game before, and I think Stretch kind of got bodied by an unfortunate series of minion activations because they activate twice with the leadership mod set. This was a super fun game. Micah was a joy to play with, and as always was great to play with Cody. Being able to put a face to a name again, that was a big thing for me. Getting a lot of webcam games in before the con, super fun, and we knocked out Hawkeye. Moving on to the next one, what we have here, again, I'm trying to guess. I think this is Cody's, and I'm not trying to put words. Guessing by kind of this hand here, I would assume wife, and if not wife, fiance. Again, both of those, that couple was like a joy to play games with. I think I got more games than just this one with both of them. They were just great. They were primarily, I think they played they said they played 4-player, but with two-handed, unless that was someone else I'm mistaking them for. But yeah, they were great at the game. She was playing this Winter Soldier deck. He was on this Quicksilver, and again, Justice taking one for the team. Justice is not an aspect I see he played a lot. He's like, all right, so usually I find I'm the one playing Justice mostly because I like to play it, but I don't know, people kind of like to do aggression things, deal damage and whatnot, but I like Justice. I think it's cool. But the fact he kind of took up the mantle to do the Justice, I thought was super fun and great. Then when we're looking at this here, we've got we got the J. Jonah, we got Silk on the table for protection. I remember Hayden was going, I think, crazy this game against Spider-Man with the protection mod, but this was on standard. And even on standard, we were getting cooked by this guy. 2 acceleration tokens. We had the Mojo environment down. This guy was cooking us on standard. We could not break through his web counters. I think we hit that side scheme 2 or 3 times. I was like, oh my goodness, if this side scheme does not go away, we had to do so much output. Those side schemes in Hawkeye and Spider-Man are brutal. Those are brutal side schemes. You guys are evil for designing them the way that they are, but it did make for some interesting games. We did end up getting the win. This is one of the Adam Warlock games I got to play. Super fun, super cool. I still don't think we're on the next day yet. We're still with Cody and his wife. I think her name was Ari, but again, I was just trying to read her name tag. I don't think I actually ever asked kind of formally. I think this is sitting next to David, someone who said he was a fan of mine. He had this super cool health counter with Lorcana that spun and popped his health value out. It was supposed to be used for lore in that game. Man, I gotta look that up because that was a super cool health dial. It seemed almost like if you wanted to stim or something, you just spin it and this little piece of plastic would pop up for the health values, and it was fluid. I have no idea how it worked. It was awesome though. I had to look up how he did that or where he got that made, or if he got it off Etsy or something. If David catches this VOD at some point, I think that was his name. Apology if it was not. Man, that was awesome. Again, another late night game in here. I was playing my current Tiger deck against the Enchantress mod I played. One thing that you'll see commonly, and this is something that I didn't actually count when I go through my stats later, is I played the villain, I would say probably 28 out of my 32 games I played. Not a problem for me. Don't have a problem running the villain, and I know a lot of people have a lot of problem running the villain, so it does not matter to me. Like I'm super down to run the villain. Hopefully I know the rulings well enough that I can make it a smooth game for everybody involved. But yeah, no. I run the villain most times. It made me get more familiar with the cards. I can, play the standard, just deal them. Yeah, I play the villain a lot of times. So if you were in a game with me, you're welcome, because I didn't make you do it. Because I'm totally fine with doing it. Yeah, we played against Enchantress. This was the first time either of them had played her, so it was kind of interesting seeing them deal with like the tempting fate mechanics and not knowing what kind of like the enthralled versus the suppressed stuff does. This was a really close game with Enchantress. Looking at the main here, she was like 3/4 of the way to popping, and then we were able to knock her out. This is the beginning of day 2. Starting off with day 2, there was a Trickster takeover pod firing, so we decided to go ahead and join in. I think we were playing with Finn. We were playing with Hayden, and I forgot who the last person we were playing the game with. Again, apologies if I forgot. I think this was Zach, actually. Yeah, I think Zach said this was his last game. He was going to go visit a friend, and then I saw him back later that day, so he could not stay away. Super great getting in the game with him. We smoked Loki. We did like 80 damage on the first time we popped him, and then like kind of 20 the next time because he was getting low. This is kind of the example. This, I think Mark, the gentleman, Mark was running the big Loki. His table was running the big Loki villain, and I just got a picture of him being knocked out. Then we go here. We sit at the same table, and I think we got 2 new people into the fray. Actually, I think it might have been Finn and No. This was a different game. This is when we fought Red Skull. This was with Ryan, Mass Hero, and another gentleman that I played 2 games with him, but I never actually caught his name or his Discord. He played this like crazy Thor deck that I had never seen so many minions in front of a guy at one point. He was drawing like 8 cards off of it, and again, because it was standard, he didn't have to deal with the consequences of his actions. I mean, he has an empty board, so he dealt with it anyways. But yeah, we were playing standard Red Skull, so we were able to get all the draws off the minions and then punch Red Skull. She-Hulk was punching Red Skull. We had a Cyclops on the table, so Hulkling was punching Red Skull. Wonder Man was punching Red Skull, and Thor was definitely punching Red Skull. Super fun to get in a game with Ryan here. It was just great. Him playing She-Hulk, I got to kind of riff a bit about her being the best hero in the game, as always, and it was a great time. Next game we have here, I think this is when we sat down and started doing the campaign, right? So if you look at this here, I think this is Green Goblin, right? With the Carnage one. Man, that Carnage campaign stuff was tough. Just having this big, and using the campaign environment and the fact that he got it tough every time he healed, man, that was brutal to deal with. We had to knock him out like 2 or 3 times, and then he finally decided to stop coming back from the encounter deck. The all mucked up encounter card was so bad for Hayden in this game. He could not flip down for like 4 turns in a row because we were just building our board and trying to survive against the horde of minions against a Green Goblin, that we couldn't have enough output to put into Carnage with his tough and 12 HP in order to give him that chance to flip down. Man, he was a trooper. We got through it and we smashed him. Next one we had, which I think was the highlight of kind of the mini campaign, I really did like Juggernaut. I thought the standard choices for this one was great. I thought it worked really well with kind of like how Juggernaut's whole thing works, with all these choose effects, dealing damage equal to his attack, flipping his helmet. I thought this was definitely the most fun. We had Jeff. Me and Jeff decided to kind of counter Juggernaut a little bit. Originally, we did 4 leadership decks in the first scenario, and then we switched it to protection to leadership. Because, yeah, you definitely need leadership when you're fighting the Juggernaut. This guy will knock you out. You need a bit of survivability. And, yeah, I think I definitely flipped down more times in this Falcon games than before. We got this awesome pick of Jeff. I forgot to send this to him directly. But we did also resolve the Gardener, I think, in this game against, what's he called? Oh, no, we resolved the Gardener in the game against Ultron. Well, what a madman. Playing Gardener in his Strange deck and then actually resolving it is crazy. I am not, I am not a person who's ever touched one of these cards with a 10-foot pole, but Jeff is like, nah, man, I'm strange. I'll throw the Gardener in the deck, and it's gonna resolve. Nah, that was crazy. That was crazy. That was awesome. It was a great time. Again, I forgot to mention we were playing. Yes, it was me, Jeff, Hayden, and Mongoose. It was a great time. Again, face to a name. Mongoose was kind of, I was talking to him. Carl, I was talking to him in the Discord, and he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna come to the con, or like, and the fact, to make it out there and have such a great time. And we even got to catch lunch with him, or lunch slash dinner ish after this third scenario, having a great conversation and just talking about anything and everything. It was just such a great experience to put faces to names and just have a really, really fun time. Third scenario, I went ahead and swapped it up again. I was on Wonder Man leadership. We had Mongoose swap it up and the Shuri protection, and then we had Mad Props 2, including Cosmic Entity. Yeah, that's all Jeff. The Madman, that's all him. And it resolved. That couldn't be me, man. That's crazy. It's crazy. Two costs to maybe do something, but when it happens, you blanket and counter card. Nah, that's crazy. That could not be me. Went to Wonder Man this game. We had Mongoose go to Shuri protection, and then Jeff still on his protection strange because he was loving it off the high of procking the Gardener. And then Hayden still on the SPDR Justice. The Ultron game was definitely... We were on the main one for a while. Again, all of these were in standard. So we were keeping it cool on the main one for a little bit. And then finally, eventually the main one does pop and you got a main two. We started rushing that Ultron dude down. I was dealing damage as much as I could with Wonder Man. Like, doing my basic attack. SPDR was getting out there with the sidekicked Venom. We got Shuri kind of protected for the table and triggering those Panther Claws to knock out and be on drone duty, because without that, it might have been really tough. And again, speaking of being tough, Strange was handing out kind of the Rings of Ragador, or whatever it's called, to hand out toughs to all of us to keep us safe and healthy, and just taking a little bit of chip from those Ultron drones. This was a funny experience. I don't know if Doc, or I don't know if Dave is still in here, but Dave gave the recommendation for this burger at the Tap House Brewery, or whatever was at nearby, kind of like a 10-15 minute walk from the convention. He gave this recommendation. I never got a chance to tell him or send him the picture. I thought the burger was good, but we were kind of, trolling and messing around, and we were like, man, we can tell we're in, Mongoose is not from Texas, but he resides in Texas, so we're all from the South, and we're there. And a couple of things on the menu, Hayden got a chips and salsa. I got something that was supposed to have like a little kick to it. Man, there was no spice in there at all, man. Like, I get it. We're in the North, the palates aren't maybe as refined spice-wise, but it was super funny that all these things were like, what's it called? Now that's an encounter, yeah. All these things were like, oh, it's got a little bit of spice, it's got a little bit of a kick, and then you bite into it and it's sweet. That is not what that means to me. I was having like it was an incongruency with what was said on the menu and what I was tasting. Again, I'm not giving him a hard time. The food was good. It was just super funny. I forgot Hayden was like, that's not surprising. He looked at me and I know Hayden since third grade. He's just trolling me. He's like, I think you're the only Mexican dude in this entire restaurant, which was probably true and probably why the spice was the way it was. Again, it was just funny. Really funny anecdote. And again, I'm doing my recap, so I get to go off on random tangents. Finally, we came back after being refreshed with that non-spicy food to finish out the campaign here. We had finished it up with Claw, and Jeff had gotten into another game, so he's like, feel free to finish the campaign without me, so we did. We kind of looked at Claw starting HP on standard. I didn't really thumb through any of the Kang cards for this kind of campaign scenario, but I did see kind of like a little bit of these like environments kind of remind me of the Ebony Maw spells. Again, I wasn't at this con, so I didn't play the original versions of these things. So it was kind of interesting how it was Ebony Maw spells and how this Kang minion kind of produced a lose condition if you didn't at least flip him one time. But we kind of looked at Claw's HP. We got the Immortal Claw and we're like, let's just rush him, man. Like, just, pedal to the metal, just hit this dude. So we probably beat him in like 4 to 5 rounds, which again, most multiplayer games will be around 6 to like 8 rounds anyways, so 5 rounds is still pretty fast. So I was playing my Tiger in aggression. We had Mongoose in his aggression models just doing work. This game is crazy. And then we also had Hayden in his leadership Hulkling deck, which kind of had this value engine going. He was in the Hulk Jake, he was playing his allies, and we just turned sideways, and we just kept turning sideways on Claw, man. That dude did not stand a chance. We rushed him down, we beat him down, and that was the end the Con of Heroes 2026 campaign. That was a ton of fun, actually. I thought that the kind of how the scenarios interacted with kind of the chosen modular sets you were supposed to shuffle in was really cool. I think it made kind of for very interesting decision making, opportunities, and I thought it was great. I always give props to them for like just making homebrew stuff, even if some people might be a bit critical, or having feedback isn't necessarily being critical, right? But even with all of this, just the fact that you going out there creating something, and maybe it resonates for some people and it doesn't for others, but I just thought it was really fun. I like the idea of just like randomly shuffling these kind of environments and getting this like kind of tough mod set in with this tough effect, but from getting through this tough effect, you get a really strong effect later on in your scenarios, kind of like going forward, getting that buff. Again, last year, I thought the symbiote suits were very thematic for Carnage specifically. I thought those were super cool. I had never had a chance to play with those again. But I think for real this time, again, I was just dipping my toes into multiplayer as kind of my excuse for not dipping into the concept more in the past year. I have played Carnage at my locals, but I haven't done a ton with much of the other stuff, the high flying mods or the campaign stuff. But I really do want to try, and once I've gotten past, playing the Hawkeye leader and the Spider-Man leader in like kind of expert games, using the standard leaders a bit more, and shuffling, making my own standard leader decks that aren't just the 4 default ones it came with, because I didn't feel like kind of mixing and mashing the PvP cards. I think it'll be a ton of fun, and I can't wait to see how like all of it kind of works together, right? So that was that. Then we go here. This is a game with hit buttons. Gotta run back a game. I think the only game I played with him last year was Slay the Spire. But yeah, shout outs to him. I got a game with him, Hayden, and Corbin. Corbin was on the Mantis, hit buttons was on his kind of Mutant Mayhem funny cable deck that kind of blanks out the icons on the pool, Live Dangerously. And I got to play She-Hulk, and Hayden got to play, I think this is a Hulkling again, a lot of Hulkling games. And we knocked out the Enchantress with a couple of interesting mod sets. I know Corbin mixed one of them in there. It was the Hela Legions of Hell mod, kind of the undead one. And then I had, what's it called? Savage Land was the mod set I brought for Enchantress. Moving on to later on here. Again, we had one piece share. I think this is Cody again, if I had to guess, who was playing Protection SPDR. And then this is Lime as well, who was playing my current Tiger deck, and he was doing his money spread on how many cards were in his hand, which is super funny. I'm glad he enjoyed that. This was me playing SPDR, borrowing Hayden's deck, and he was playing his Jubilee deck. This SPDR is not a character I play a ton. It's not a character I have a ton of interest in playing because he always plays it. So like, oh, I know how this character goes. It's almost like sitting next to someone who plays the character so much. It's like you're playing the character, so you're not super motivated to give it a shot. This was super fun. We had a really quick and fun game. Again, this is another expert game. I knew the players. I knew they were kind of cooking at the game. So we had an expert claw game. That was a ton of fun. Again, we're doing another game here. I don't know who subbed in here. I'm trying to figure out who this is from just... And I don't know. This looks very familiar. But again, this is Cody, and we were playing another game here. Is this the Gambit? Oh, okay, yeah, I know what game this is. Yeah, this is the game we had against Thunderbolts. It's a pretty fun one. There wasn't like a ton to say about this one. There was kind of some political discourse brewing with this guy playing Gambit and Micah, which people are free to have their own opinions, but I would say at least be informed with your opinions. And let's just say Micah was cooking, and maybe this guy wasn't as much. Again, we're not getting into politics here. We're talking about card games. Let's get to card games. I sent this out at the beginning, I think, of day 3, just because I had a lot left over and I wanted to hand him out. This is my Wonder Man alt. I'm super proud of this. I think it looks super good, and I'm super happy to have created it. I spent a lot of time just making sure the fine details worked as good as I wanted them to, and I think it came out great. Again, I'm going to be mailing out some of the people who weren't able to make it, some of the people who reached out to me over Discord who just saw the alt art, and hopefully they will enjoy it as much as I did making it. I did promise Kennedy Hawk a Rift-bound game, so I did that bright and early at like 8:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, after going to bed at like 3 a.m. the night before. I did not get a lot of sleep this weekend. I'm still catching up on my sleep. This Riftbound game was super fun and actually got me inspired to try and find the starter product, the Proving Grounds. Again, not going to talk about Riftbound a lot, but it felt like a real game. I love kind of like the base Marvel Snap mechanics, how you're able to move around. I know about the League IP, so it was super fun to just like see things I recognize and how it translates. I had a great time. Shout outs to Kennedy Hawk for roping me into that one. I'm trying to see what I'm looking at. We got another game with Daring Lime here. We got another name. I think this is with Bananas, and then this is with Mongoose, I'm pretty sure. So we fought Mongooses. You did a good job with those cards. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making them, and I thought they came out really, really good. This is another game where so Mongoose had this kind of what's it called? He had this hood set that he was kind of tweaking over the weekend with all these nemesis sets of criminal minions, and he found that the crime set from Mojo was bogging it down. So I'm like, let's give it a chance. Let's play it. We did a lot of deck swaps in this game too. I think me and him were playing one of Banana's like 15 decks she brought, and I think that I think Lime was playing one of Mongoose's deck. I think the Shadowcat Aggression, something like that. There was a bit of a deck swap going on here, but super fun. Man, Hood even on standard is a tough scenario. I mean, look at these side schemes on the board, and eventually we just had to decide like we gotta push damage, and we gotta do it. Conversation broke out on the second to last turn, and I was just like, well, I'll quietly do my bishop stuff. Like I'll shoot him with my rifle, punch him. I'll use like the command convergence, whatever it's called. I'm not a bishop person. I never played bishop pool. That was a ton of fun, being able to use all these resource things and mulligan my hand back with all these resources. That was really funny. I had a great time playing him, and we were able to knock out the Hood on standard. Super scary still on standard, man. I don't know. That Hood character is crazy. 4 players, it's crazy. We got another screenshot here, so you might be wondering, Char, what the heck's going on? We got a screenshot of the clock here. So on Sunday, and I want to step back at kind of on a macro sense of the con. I really enjoyed my days, day 0, day 1, and day 2, but I felt like the best day for me was day 3. I think maybe because there's kind of no schedule, and that's not like a knock to the schedule being bad or the events being bad, but when you feel like you have a chance to just kind of go around, knock out games with people, meet people, chat with people you've never met before, never gotten a game in. It was just really fun. And also I think it's a side effect of if you're at a convention and you're there on day 3, you're probably really invested and really into the game. The people who are there on day 3, they want to get gaming. They want to get, what's it called? Like they just want to game. They want to knock out some villains. They want to play some heroes. And that happened. I think the most games I got was on Sunday. I think it was maybe like 10. I don't actually know the exact number, but man, oh man, the games on Sunday were great. And I think a lot of it was because there was a lot of fast-paced games. There's people who were flying out. They wanted to do skirmish modes. They wanted to do like, what's it called? I got offered to play skirmish for people who are leaving. They're like, I want to get a game in, but it's got to be skirmish. And every time, like I said, if I'm running the villain, we are not playing a skirmish game. Trust me, hit the villain. We can play a full game. You don't have to worry. This was one of those with Micah. She was in here earlier. Shout outs to her. She was like, I'm heading out. I want to play a skirmish game. I want to play another game. My shuttle's here in like an hour or whatnot to get to the airport. Let's play a skirmish game. I'm like, hell no, we're not playing a skirmish game. We can play a full game, and I got the perfect villain to speedrun. So I chose Hawkeye here because I just thought it'd be funny to tell Kennedy Hawk later in the day. So we just rushed him down. If you look at our table, there's 1 aggression, 2 aggression, 3, 4 aggression players. You got an aggression Tigra, who she was borrowing the deck. We had aggression Miles. We had aggression Wonder Man, who I was able to hand my Altart out to, and we had aggression Deadpool, and we just beat down on Hawkeye. He did not stand a chance. We flipped stage 1 and 2, 32 minutes in a 4-player game. It was crazy. It was maybe like 5-ish rounds. Super fun game, speed running Hawkeye. After that, I got a game with a nice pair of brothers from Canada who said they Border Patrol gave them a little bit of flack or a little bit of trouble, which, if you know the state our country is in right now, is not surprising in the least. But I'm glad they were able to make it to the con and have a good time and just, have a really good time at the con and enjoying the con outside of that pretty negative experience. We played Sinister 6 here. I thought Sinister 6, for some reason, I hadn't played it at all. I heard of being passive aggressive, but I very often see people being aggressive We're being passive aggressive, but not very often I see people being aggressive. Yeah, for sure. That's right here with these 4 aggression decks. You should have done the Spider-Man speed run. You know what? I got you, and I'll let you know how it goes on this weekend. I should still be able to go on Saturday for a little bit of time, but I will get you a Spider-Man speed run down. I'll do a standard one because that's what I do with Kennedy Hawk, so it's only fair. How fast can we speed run through Spider-Man? See, the reason why I didn't speed run him is because he doesn't lend himself to being speed ran. I'm sure you can, and you definitely can, especially on standard. But Hawkeye has no survivability, and it's like thematic that the dude with no superpower is like the one defense at 9 HP. He gets speed run easier. Maybe not. Maybe I'm gonna try Spider-Man this weekend, and he's gonna be easier. We'll see. We played Sinister Six. This was the first of I think 2 or 3 I played on Sunday. It was crazy. I had played no Sinister Six, and then finally maybe people were playing like the normal content after getting their fill of maybe the con stuff. That being said, I don't think that's necessarily true. There's a lot of people that I talked to who are like, yeah, I didn't even open the con card pack, which I think is crazy to me. I think it's crazy. I think for most of those though, it's because someone else at the table was usually running the villain, so they didn't want to like spread all the cards out into their like bag or whatever, which makes sense. But there were some people who were like, yeah, like this is my first time. Like I was on day 3 and they're like, yeah, this is my first time playing the Hawkeye leader. I'm like, what? That was like the first thing I sleeved up. I saw a new villain. I was like, I want to play this, but some people come to play the normal content. They don't play like customs or whatnot. To each their own. I just thought it was crazy hearing that from some people. I was like, what? Really? Nah, that's what I was looking forward to. I thought the custom content was great. Again, it's a really easy game here. I mean, we played with that one Thor player again, didn't catch his name or Discord, or if I did, it's lost to time for now. We're sitting next to Protection Iron Man, classic, get built out fast. Aggression Angel with dive bomb into Sinister Six. I think is like super overkill, but he was having a really fun time, so I wasn't like harping on him or anything for it. I was playing my handout resources to the table with Shuri, and then we had a Miss Marvel Justice deck keeping all the thwart in check. Then we ended up doing where I can't put a face in it. Oh, this is Corbin and Andy R. So we got in a game against Andy R's Magneto with kind of some easier monsters on standard. That being said, it was still a pretty tough game. Corbin was on SPDR. Andy was on not Justice, Aggression, Hulkling. With man, that deck put out damage. And then I was on my Adam Warlock deck, who I flipped down once in like a 7 or 8 turn game, which is pretty cool. I told them, like, I'm going to flip down one time. It's going to be the one time that I choose to get my Soul World healing, and I'll flip back up, and that's it. And I was a man to my word. I never flipped back down. Flipped down once to heal, and that was it. So this was a really fun game. Just being able to buff up SPDR's activations using my Battle Mage with like the kind of leadership stuff, being able to help the output of the table. I secured a bunch of stuns and stuff with the Night Nurse. We got Welcome Aboard to discount some allies. I was able to use my Battle Mage's ability on allies, like by discarding a green card to heal up a couple of Andy R's allies in order to keep them activating and not just using them as chumps, which did just help push advantage against Magneto until we were able to get it. Then I got a really good game in with Mark TJ or TY something, an older gentleman I got a game with. I let him play my Adam Warlock deck, and he was cooking piloting that deck, man. Like, I was trying to help him with lines a little bit at the beginning, but he got to it, he got racing, and he got cooking on that Adam Warlock deck. We had a quick game against Standard Claw. Super fun. I think I don't think he was heading out. No, I think maybe he was heading out. I don't remember. He was just asking if we could do a quick game. I think it was another person. This is another instance of someone asked me to play skirmish, and I told them, dude, do not worry. We do not need to play a skirmish. If I am playing the villain, we can get this done. And so we had knocked out the first stage in like 15-20 minutes, and I was like, I told you. And I asked him, like, you want to keep going? He's like, oh yeah, I thought it was take a lot longer. And every time I sat next to somebody, I think 2 or 3 different people have told me, again, I'm not self-glazing, but 2 or 3 different people told me, like, when I was playing the villain, they were like, wow, like, my games have not been going this fast. It was a very common trend. I'm like, just be on it. If you're in the game, if you're focused on the game, we'll get it out there. Obviously, on the player phase, we're chatting and trolling and doing everything. But on the villain phase, just get it going. It's like boost card, defend, no, okay, defend, no, and then you just keep it moving. Great game, great great person I got a chance to get a game with. Then there's another game I got to sit down. I think this is the game I played with Stretch22. Yes, he wanted to get in a game with me, and of course I wanted to get a game with him. Did we manage to get one last year? I can't remember, but I'm glad we were able to rectify it. He was keeping me sane on my kind of Deadpool rulings, and he was playing this Justice Angel deck. I mean, this classic Angel. Super good in Justice. He's really good. We're also sitting next to a Protection Black Panther, the original, and a Leadership Iceman. Great time, great players. I don't play Master Mold often, so I was a bit shaky and iffy on a couple of his rulings. If you look at this Inane Override drop with 5 tokens on it, I don't think he ever popped main 1. So I'm hearing is that you're the Char Silver of running villain decks. Well, Quicksilver would have to be fast in order for that to be true. But nah, I'm just trolling. People say that the guy's kind of slow to set up. I played with Quicksilver, I think, like once over the weekend. I didn't really notice that. In multiplayer, it's not really a big deal. He got going by turn 2 and it was fine. But yes, you can call me the Char Silver running the villain. I am fast, man. I am dealing. I'm asking these questions. Lock in, and we will get this game done with. So this was a ton of fun. This was kind of like we're building out, and again, I got to do the funny, what's it called? Maximum effort into this card is fire for like 30 to push damage at the end of this villain phase, as things were maybe kind of getting out of control. But actually, now looking back on it, they really weren't. Our board was basically clear. Super fun time. This is another picture of a clock, so I didn't actually get a picture of this game, and I think the gentleman joined earlier, St. Matthew, was the person who I played a 2-player. I think it was the only 2-player game of the con. So St. Matthew was the person I got the game with, and we had speedrun Hawkeye in 2-player with double aggression, Jubilee, and Deadpool in 18 minutes. Full game. It's my fastest Hawkeye defeat of the weekend. I made sure to tell Kenny Hawk that one as well. Now we're looking here. I played with some of the DC guys, one of the people who hosts, or maybe is the owner of MCDC or something to the left of me. And again, I was like, I played enough of my decks. Anyone got a deck for me to borrow? He handed me this Ant-Man kind of like brute force quick strike deck with like giant strength and stuff. I thought it was super cool. We beat up Sinister Six, and he kind of had like a kind of environment that kind of sped up the scenario. I'm fine with custom stuff. I think the Sinister Six, I think if you want to make the Sinister Six more interesting, how I would say it is be my guest, because I agree with a lot of the criticism that once the villains are knocked out, there's really not a ton you can do but wait. You're going to have your aggression player like boarding for 2, and there's just not really anything they can do. Now, do I think that gets fixed if there's a game plan and people who understand how the scenario works, where everyone whose output, they look at their hands, everyone whose output can choose to not be damaged, chooses not to hit the villains, and everyone whose output is only damage hits the villains, can kind of fix that easily. But I would say in general, 4-player games don't have that coordination. But essentially what this kind of environment did was, if there was no villains, you spend a resource, you resolve the ambush ability, and you get a new guy to beat up. Essentially just made the scenario much faster. You got to summon the Sinister Six on demand, and it was really funny because we were only ever getting Scorpion and Doc Ock, which was, I don't know why, maybe I had a weighted dice or something. Only 1 and only 5, which is crazy. Then we're looking at this game. What was this game? I'm trying to figure it out. So I was Shield. Oh, is this the? Oh yeah, okay. So this was Hone's last game. I'm not sure if it was actually your last game, Hone, but you were declaring it would be. Yeah, this was against Spider-Man Protection on Expert. Man, this is a tough scenario. That being said, tough in terms of like we really weren't progressing until Hayden got online, until he got that SPDR kind of Venom sidekick going. Man, this guy reduced so much damage. I remember I got Dane Whitman in there, Black Knight to Pierce the Tough, and I didn't realize that Expert reduced the damage by 2. I was like, hold up, I gotta take that back. It was my last game. Nice. I got to take that one back, so I'm like, no, dude, if I knew I reduced by 2, I would not have swung with this guy until my Mighty Avengers was down. It was crazy. Comboing with that protection mod set was super tough. I think the side scheme came out like twice, or like his side scheme came out 3 times, I think, and then the protection one itself, man, that one was rough. The force field generator, I think that one came out once. Man, it was rough, but honestly, by the end of it, it was kind of felt like a war of attrition, so it was like, I think I correctly noticed, or it's just me as a player, I say it, I wouldn't have done it anyways, that 3 attack 2 scheme we had a pretty good Justice player besides the last turn, Chase, keeping the threat in check. I mean, I was just like, flip down. Who cares? Flip down, flip down, flip down. And I think it worked pretty well for us. He didn't pop the main until like the second to last turn. I think we did miss a turn of trying to mill the top of the encounter deck for minions. But that being said, I thought it was a really cool way to get the push at the end. It felt like he was kind of getting the reins back under his control a little bit on his flip, as the Civil War leaders always do, because they give you an encounter card, where you're able to get the board back in a manageable state. We got all his web fluid counters down and finish it with a swinging web kick. I thought that was awesome. So it was super fun and thematic. I'm always going to remember giving Chase 3 Avengers Mansions, and his best play was drawing into Banshee. I thought that was crazy. I was like, man, who made this deck? Or like, what is this hand type of deal? I thought it was hilarious. Oh man, it's just a great game. I think it was super, especially, it's just a super fun game. To get like one of the villains in Expert, right? Again, I knew I was confident the people I was playing with and their ability to pilot their deck. So I'm like, let's get an Expert game. And it probably ran about an hour and a half. But because we're all engaged with the game and bantering, it's the difference between an hour and a half of like, really slogging it out with Spider-Man trying to make progress versus an hour and a half of people just not really able to play or get into the game due to other differences. So great game, super fun time. It was awesome. Then I talked to these two dudes who were from the area. Again, I didn't catch their name. I think one of them actually let me know, and Dave let me know that I was name dropped by Villain Theory in his Daredevil video like twice. But I think they let me know as well, and they're like, "Oh, you're Charred Gim," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." So one of them found my channel, and they sent me a sub, which is appreciated. I come to the con as a player first and a content creator second or even third. Like, I'm not there to put a camera in people's faces. I'm not there to make content. Now, if I had like an IRL setup or like a way that I could like set up a table and like record some games, or something that would be really cool, is like set up like a 24/7 live stream or like a 12-hour live stream to Spider-Woman match. I did not even notice that. That is true. Awesome. Okay, if I was there, like I could set up like a live stream or some, not necessarily on my channel, but like just games, the banter, just being in part of the con. That would be awesome. That might be something for next year. And again, I just don't want to. My goal is to maybe even pack lighter than I have in the past, and bringing streaming equipment kind of seems like the opposite of that. It would be cool, but maybe it's on a in the future to-do list. I don't want to be stuck to a table. I think it would be cool if it was something that was just like anyone could be on the stream. Kind of like I relate it to like fighting game tournaments. Like, it's the stream setup. If you want to like look back on it and see one of your games, that would be a cool way to do it. But other than that, I wouldn't want to like have an IRL camera or like the Meta AI whatever glasses that's like recording my game. Low-key, I think like the glasses recording could be cool at like my locals to like how I POV playing like a multiplayer game or something. But it's not the place. I'm there as a player. I'm there to talk to people, have great interactions, and that's what I did. So you have great interactions. This was a super fun game. We were just beaten up. It was like 2 a.m. It was beaten up on 1 or 2 a.m. It was beaten up on Juggernaut on Standard, and they were playing like a theme deck, like the Soul Sisters with Storm, and this guy borrowed his deck. He brought the two team up decks of Storm and Phoenix, and one was in aggression, the other one was in leadership, and I was playing my give them money and what's it called? Give them money so they can play their turns. And it was super thematic because the guy at the end, again, I forgot his name. The guy at the end wanted with all of his heart to knock out Juggernaut with Professor X because he has the mental resource, so he deals the damage, and also the Thunderstorm gives him +1 attack. And he did manage on the last turn when we were pushing Juggernaut to play the Professor X with the Thunderstorm out, and he had a cell phone down, so it meant Professor X was dealing like 3 damage to Juggernaut, and on my turn I was able to get him to like exactly like 3 or 2 health, and I was able to call that cell phone action, have Professor X knock out Juggernaut. We were the second to last game played of the con officially, because it was like Sunday, I guess Monday at the early AMs. Chase and his group, I think it was the last con played that night. They win this year, but maybe I'll be the last game played next year. It was super fun, just getting Professor X to knock out Juggernaut. Like, when can you say that happens? It's super goofy and hilarious. Speaking of the guy who brought the team decks, he also showed this insane Adam Warlock deck. Essentially, the idea behind this deck was to get Rogue, who's kind of in the glare here, put every single one of these upgrades on her and have her activate for like 7 or 8 attack and like 7 thwarting and like running off the sky cycle and getting rid of her consequential. It's just like the craziest deck I've ever seen. He said that he did play it in a game and it had decent output. It's like a 50 card Adam Warlock deck. I'm like, this is insane. I would never play a deck like this. But the fact that he brought this and he actually said he played it and got a win with it was crazy to me. I thought it was awesome. Oh man, it's just crazy. The whole idea is like you want to sit next to people with different traits, so Rogue can touch maybe the other people at the table. So you can play all the Guardian stuff, you can play the Avenger stuff, the Shield stuff on yourself, and he has allies to supplement it. It's just what an insane deck. It's like absolutely crazy. Like when he fanned this out, I was like, that is wild. That is just wild to me. It's just that's hilarious. Yeah. Sirhone says we should talk next year. I can talk to a local about borrowing some equipment, but I think we need to camp out. Yeah, that's the idea, right? Like if there was a way where I could like pack light and like travel light, but also have a very mobile and consistent setup that streamed games, that wasn't a hassle to move from table to table because I want to be active on the move. Like there's so many qualifiers that are just like at odds with each other that I don't think it would ever happen. But if like the con itself had like a streamed table where it was like you can come here if you want like your game to be on record. It's like some kind of monumental game. Maybe the devs come and do their panel next year. We have them on like the mainstream. Again, I'm looking at this from like a fighting game perspective, like an Evo or something. Have the devs on the mainstream who are able to like play the new heroes, whatever they are at that point in time. I think that could be like super cool. Again, if I was like more mobile or I was from the area and I could like move it in a car and come back, that would be something maybe I'd consider. I would need to source equipment and stuff like that. But it's just a pipe dream for now. It'd be cool. And officially, the last day of the con, I would say con day 4, is I finally got to sit down and get in a game with Boom Guy and DR. I think I played with him 3 times. I think this is the 3rd game. We got a lot of games. It's a big difference from last year when I was his last game as he was running off to the airport on Sunday. He stayed until Monday. There was a couple people. I really enjoyed staying until Monday. I have the means and the ability and the money, thankfully, to be able to do that. But it was good to get finally a full night's sleep for once out of the whole weekend and get a really chill game. I had to end it with She-Hulk. I had to end it with my Wonder Man Altart against my She-Hulk scenario that I was running like a madman. We speed ran the She-Hulk scenario. I was on Justice. We had Boom Guy on Protection. We had Yeah, he was on Protection. We had 2 Protection plays against She-Hulk. That's crazy. We had Spider-Man Perfect Protection, and it was a classic deck. Home was playing a deck. Andy did a different spin on it from multiple men here. And then Hayden with a million obligations on the aggression. Hercules to close out the con. Super good time. That is the end of kind of like my photo gallery, photo dump. Yeah, man. The con was such a good time. It's just like every time, it's like I have a lot of like, it's kind of nervous. You get like, traveling and in kind of like this scenario we're in where like there's like cuts everywhere, like getting on a plane can be kind of like nerve wracking and all this stuff. But it's always when I'm on that plane and I've landed for this first time, it's like all the worries goes away. It was just such a good time overall. It's always such a good time. What you guys put on, like getting able to just sit down and get games with all these people. And seriously, I'm not a person who does any caffeine. I was on like 12 hours of sleep combined that weekend, minus specifically Sunday night into Monday. No caffeine, none of that. I was probably malnourished, and I had like, mine was constantly telling me that I had the most energy of all the people he was around, and I have no idea how I did that. Literally, I think it's just like the room is infectious. The people are having a great time. Everyone just wants to sit and play this game that everyone thinks is awesome. And it's just such a good event. Like, seriously, if anyone is in this, watching this VOD or in the stream, didn't have a chance to go, I would implore you, please try to make it out. If it's not Con of Heroes, it's MCDC. If it's not that, it's Assemble. If it's not that, it's just whatever cons are on the future. It's the Alter Ego Con coming on, which is the online one, which I want to make a video about. Shout out the community. Man, this community is awesome. The amount of cards and like altarts and things I got handed are just crazy. I think actually I will switch back to my side camera really quickly. Oh man, which one is the correct? Is it this one? Not this one. Is it this one? Not this one. It's this one. Okay, Texas Con. Yeah, I wasn't gonna be the one to say it. I was giving you a layup there. But man, we are over here. Let me move this comic I was talking about. Um, just the amount of stuff I was handed, like just like getting stuff from Sandy. I want to just like do a quick run through of some of that stuff. We could flip through some of the custom promos and stuff I got, which will all be right here. It's just so much stuff, right? You got to tell people it's one of the perks of having Shield. Maybe you'll get aboard. You get on board the goat boat. True. I was riffing so hard over the weekend with Cody specifically. I had talked to him or confided in him that I wasn't a huge fan of like a Hulk. I mean, no one's a huge fan of Hulk in my opinion, but Thor I wasn't a huge fan of. And what's it called? I was like, yeah, I'm not a big, I'm not a big like Thor person. Like, um, there's something about him that's kind of off for me, and so um having so much energy, I mean. Oh. Oh, I see. Nice. Um yeah. I gotta tell him that's what I'm getting powered by. No, but like I was just riffing a ton over the weekend. It was just such a good time. I mean, here's like some of the stuff, right? Like I got like custom like team up cards, like rogue alt arts. We got alt arts like the Dan Hip arts from like Marvel Snap and stuff. We got given stuff here, like got this hollow Dan Hip alt art, which is crazy. We got Magic. We got like the winning hand promos, which are super cool. I didn't get a chance to trade a ton. We got like Nightcrawler, like a million Nightcrawlers. We got Valkyrie, Wolverine, more Nightcrawlers. I got like these like cool. This guy had extras of like these full art hero card or villain cards. So I got like collector because the art looked really cool. We got like Ultron because again I thought his art looked really cool. Again, we had like She-Hulk because of course I had to grab She-Hulk. Like more Nightcrawlers, Tigras, Nightcrawlers, and then my leftovers are my Wondermans. I got a couple of here. Like it's just like so much stuff I was handed and given, and like the community I showed off kind of bananas, standards and expert set that she gave out. Also, a couple of things from the prize table, like now this literal She-Hulk like 3D print of like the mat and like the art, which is like super cool. I don't know how or where I'm gonna put or display this, but it will go somewhere. Maybe just stick some like tape on the back or those like GM strips and hang it up somewhere. Such a great time filled with so many people who's just like giving things away, right? It's just like awesome. We got these huge alt arts from like Sandy here. We got like Black Panther, we got Venom, so I got some for the heroes. Iron Man was on my list of heroes. I think at one point to bring, but I decided against it. Like we got She-Hulk, of course, my goat. We've got Wonder Man, we got Falcon here, and then we got the alter ego arts here. It's awesome, like Wonder Man 1, Sydney Moon, like just so much stuff. It's just awesome. Like, it's such a great time. Seriously, like I need to see if any other notes or anything else that I can add, rather than repeating myself. But it just had to be said. It just had to be said. Okay, let me see if there's anything in my little notebook here that I can kind of discuss, and if not, we will talk about kind of reviews. Oh yeah, I'm good. I caught this. So, on my plane ride back home, I had my little journal of kind of like my little. If you guys want to like look real quick, I got my little name tags I had, and then we got this one, then we got this one. So those are my 3 name tags. If you could pause it and read my inner thoughts of the con, if you can read my handwriting, but essentially here at the bottom I have my tallies for kind of like the games I played and whatnot, which I want to talk about. So here's play with Sandy at the Con. He gives you a big hero card of whatever hero you're playing. He's also genuinely a super nice guy. Yeah, I didn't actually get a chance to, he's one of those people who's like kind of set in an area because he has all his alt arts and whatnot. So it's kind of hard to like find him he's not looking around and up and around going for games. So it is a bit difficult to kind of get a game in with him. I didn't have a chance to get a game with him last year or this year, but I hope to in the future. So my total tallies were 32 games played, which is crazy. Because my last year was 24, and I thought I played from dusk till dawn or dawn to dusk. I thought I was playing as much as I could last year, and I only got like 24. And this year I got 32. It was crazy. I was on top of it. What a year of playing multiplayer would do. A year of running villains, being fast at it, rushing down Hawkeye. 32 games. Absolutely crazy. Um, what that kind of boiled down to, it was one skirmish game, which is the one that we got right before the panel. We just didn't finish stage 2 of Enchantress. 25 standard games and 6 expert games. So like I said, an overwhelming majority of the games are standard at the con, which is pretty normal. I guess I can kind of swap to the other camera. I don't really need this one anymore. We can go back to the webcam so I can kind of talk. Yeah. Though there's nothing being shown on the webcam right now, so that's okay. We can go to here. How much of the venue change help with the number of games, or is it just you speed running the villain? That's a good question. I'll get to it after I'm done with this recap. Don't let me forget that. How much is it speed running the villain? So my next breakdown and kind of my stats here, which I think are kind of interesting to think about, is that number of games was 2-player, one 2-player game that was rushing down Hawkeye, the gentleman who was in here earlier. 7 3-player games. I thought 3-player was maybe one of those factors that made me get a couple of games in. 3-player, I think, is a very big speed, can be a very big speed increase in the pace of the game if you know kind of who you're playing with, or like maybe you're in a 4-player game of people who you don't know how fast they play, if they're calling actions off turn or whatnot. So I think that 3-player can be a big speed increase. And then 24 4-player games. So just in 4-player games was my record from last year. And I'm pretty sure my record from last year also had 2 and 3-player games in it. So that is crazy. I just purely exceeded my record from last year with just 4-player games. More breakdowns into my stats where out of the heroes I would play, I think it's no surprise that my top played hero was She-Hulk with 5 plays, but I think it would also be no more of a surprise, also not a surprise either, to know that Wonder Man tied She-Hulk in my most played. Again, Wonder Man got me reading these old 70s and 80s comics. I thought his design looked really cool, his hero design, and kind of like what his hero card looked like when he got revealed. And I think it's no surprise that She-Hulk, who's kind of like my classic OG favorite in this game, and Wonder Man, who's kind of like got me inspired to make an altar and stuff, it's no surprise those are my most played at 5 games each. Moving past that, coming in really closely behind him was Shuri with 4. I love Shuri. I think she's awesome. I think it's just such a cool evolution of the Black Panther design. Stands on her own legs with a lot of really cool references and callbacks to her, to the original design. We got 1 game of Silk, which again is kind of unfortunate, but as I was playing the weekend, playing these more tempo decks, a character that takes a little bit to build up was not really how I was vibing with the game, at least this weekend. 2 on Falcon, which is fine. 2 on Adam Warlock, also fine. 2 on Tigra, 2 on Mantis, 4 on Deadpool, which really surprised me. I was like, whoa, 4 Deadpool games is crazy. I just really had fun pushing damage with him. It's kind of just ignore a lot of things. You can choose when to be reckless and dial it back a bit if the table isn't keeping up with your speed. Very cool. 1 game on Venom, and then 4 games I classified as others, which were the decks that I borrowed, which was that Ant-Man aggression deck, SPDR in leadership, Star-Lord in leadership, and Bishop in pool. The biggest thing for me is I was going around telling the con, I'm not an aggression player. I love playing the support decks. I like green, I like yellow, I like blue. Blue to an extent, but I'm not an aggression player. But if I looked at my aspect divvy up, like how much I played of each aspect, it's insane because red was in second place with 9 out of my 32 games played were a red deck, which is crazy. And it's like, yeah, it was like the 4 games on Deadpool, a couple of the ones in the other category, and then 2 on Tigra. 9 games of red is crazy. I feel like I don't even know myself. I don't play red. I would assume that I wouldn't. Most of the time, you don't get an opportunity to play red, but maybe people were just like moving for different aspects this time. I'm a person who kind of like tries to fill at the table. Once I had played all my heroes at least once, I was like, oh, well, I'm down for whatever you guys want to play. So 9 games of red, that was super surprising to me. Then it was 10 games of blue, which again isn't surprising if you think about the fact that She-Hulk was my blue deck. So if you cut that in half, it's basically just 5 games of She-Hulk and then 5 of every other blue deck I bought. Not crazy, right? It's like 5 games of She-Hulk, 4 games of Shuri. It's more like I was playing heroes I'm fans of rather than me being super tied to the leadership aspect, but again, 10 games of leadership. Then it's 6 games of yellow or justice. Again, 5 of those are Wonder Man and 1 of those are Silk. 3 games of green, and I've always said like green is my favorite aspect. I did not play a lot of green this con. I should have brought something like a perfect defense Spider-Man or something that likes really like a lot of output early, doesn't need a lot of stuff on the table, and just kind of gets going. I should have bought Spider-Man in green. That's a classic deck. Um, um, think if I go again, I won't really bring any decks that build out any more than say SPDR. A lot of value in just going. I agree. If you're playing primarily standard, there is a ton of value in just going. Like play that event. Or like get a small upgrade down, but like sometimes you don't need to hold this big upgrade in your hand. Or like you just like don't really need to hold these things. Like just do output on the board, and that kind of invites people, even when you're talking to the table, that invites people to do output. I try to lead the table in not when I think the game is dragging a bit, but lead the table when I think like, man, like we have an opportunity. Let's ignore this crisis icon, or like let's ignore this acceleration icon. If we just focus all our efforts into output on damage, we've got the villain in like 2 to 3 turns. Especially for on the main one, like health is a resource. The main schemes are a resource. Just go and hit the villain. We're out of the game like 2 to 3 turns earlier because we're not hitting these side schemes that in the grand scheme don't matter. Like in that hood game that we played, we were just kind of ignoring the acceleration icons for a point. Then kind of the scarier ones came in. Played Miles way more than I thought I would, simply because he just starts popping things off the rip. Yeah, set him down and you go. Gamora's like that. You just got like a lot of these heroes that are like these tempo machines that get that game moving in multiplayer. Deadpool was again that really big highlight for me because he gets that game moving. People might be setting up. It's like turn 1, boom, 8 damage. There's a minion that needs to go away, 8 damage. There's a side scheme that needs to go away that starts to play 8 threat off the side scheme. Now everybody is cooking. Especially if you go second after someone who puts down a player side scheme, now you just contributed so much value to the board through a build support or a superpower training. You just get going and you get going fast. It was great. It was awesome. I just thought, and again, I had a couple highlights I listed out here, like Jeff, doing the gardener, Hone getting everyone in the venue to talk to me about Texas Con, which I thought, even though I was like, I looked at it, I thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was so funny. It was crazy because I think Hayden, who went with me, told my sister about like kind of the running gag of the Texas Con, so that when my sister called me after I got back, she asked me about it, which is crazy, and I think Hone is really gonna enjoy that. And my sister was saying, "Yo, what happened with Texas Con?" I'm like, "There's no way. Like, how do you know about this?" It was crazy. I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was a funny joke. I thought it was a funny running gag over the weekend. What's it called? Yeah, another fun experience was Lime when I would let him borrow one of my decks, where he'd sit next to me playing one of my lesser known jank toolbox heroes or weaker heroes like a She-Hulk, a Tiger, or something like that. Every time the game would be done, outside of saying that the game went by really fast because I was running the villain quickly, he would say like, "Wow, I really underestimated this hero. Like they're gonna be higher up on my tier list for 3 and 4 player." And it's just like crazy because like I don't know if he realized he said it like 2 or 3 times to like heroes I was playing specifically. I just thought it was hilarious that he kept saying that. Cause like I just never thought like this hero, maybe not that it didn't do anything, but I never seen him played in that way. You got Mongoose in here. Funny you mentioned Gamora. She's my first of the 25 heroes I haven't played. I built a deck for tonight, trying to get through them all this year. That's a really good goal. I think you'll have a ton of fun. If you like Miles, I really think you will like Gamora. She doesn't get that easy survivability through proccing his Venom Blast or whatever it's called. They give him the Tough or the Spider. I forget what it's called. She doesn't get Toughs from doing her stuff, but man, she is a value machine. You get her down, she's dealing damage, she's doing some thwarting. She's like doing like 2 for 7 or like 2 for 5. No, I think her thwart event is like 2 for 5. And then like her attack event is like 2 for 7 if you play the thwart card. She's just like really efficient and really fun. And if you had the ability to also like flip down and stuff, you can like get more economy in your hand, build out these kind of like small supports and synergies. Really cool. I'm a really big fan of Gamora. now I think that we have essentially got to the end of it here. I think I will swap the scene back again. Where are we at? Okay, Marvel Champions Duo. So I gotta check something really quick on the thing here. So we're going to talk about, I think, we're going to talk about the where we at? We're gonna talk about the feedback kind of section. So I think that'll be pretty important, pretty cool. And let's do that. So I need to bring up kind of the questions that Hone was talking about. Maybe I just get like a big notepad. That's actually much better. Let me set that up while I have. So I want to write down kind of the questions and separate them and talk about them like kind of one at a time. Oh, you can zoom in on Notepad. That's awesome. So, yeah, we're gonna be talking about kind of some questions, some recap, and some like pros and cons, some kind of like stuff, stuff we can do. So I'm gonna put these down. Go like. So these are all separate questions. I'm just gonna separate them and put them on the screen in big text. And then we'll just talk about them one by one. If anyone has like thoughts they want to share, or wants to share feedback on the con in general, let me know, because again, this is just gonna be my experience, and my experience I would say is not emblematic of everyone's experience at the con. I can pretty safely say that. That my experience, because I have a channel, and it's not like a huge channel, but I do have people who came up to me and wanted to get games with me because they knew who I was. And I did get, I hopefully got as many games with people who wanted to as that. But of course, I can't always be, what's it called? I can't always be everywhere all at once, kind of like that Wonder Man and his kind of Justice event. So, yeah. I think these are all the questions here, so maybe we'll just do them kind of one by one. I will put this in kind of big screen, and we'll just get chatting. We'll get chatting here. So let me switch back to the big screen, and we'll get talking. We got some questions here, so so we got questions, and you can't zoom in any more than that, so. All right, so let's start with one question at a time. Oh, shoot. Oh, we have to go like this. So the first question we got was, what was the most impactful? So this is kind of an interesting question. What did I think was the most impactful thing at the con? For me, the biggest thing of the con for me is meeting people. This year specifically, it was meeting people that I had built relationships with, and in a space that was super fun, inviting, and open. So for me, the most impactful part of the con is always just meeting and chatting and having a good time with people. Anything that goes to facilitate those three things is the most impactful thing for the con for me. I don't think that's a really kind of crazy answer I gave there. I think that's like pretty par for the course maybe with a lot of people. But I would say that just being able to talk and chat and even like, talk to you even though we're like an hour away, like I hadn't seen you since the last time, right? Life happens, things get in the way, but be able to get away from all of that for a couple days, just have really great conversations. Playing this game we all enjoyed, that's what the con is to me. That's what the con is all about. More than any event, more than any kind of, PvP tournament, more than like the custom content, more than the free stuff you get, it's always the people. And if the people come and the people have a good time, that's what's the impactful part for me. Hearing stories about like people checking out a video of mine, or people who have never heard of me and being able to just like be a guy who loves the game and talk about the game. And maybe someone tips them off at one point like, oh, he like makes videos on the game or whatnot. Like that stuff, it's just being able to be a fan and be a fan with other people who are also a fan. It's just the best part, easily by far. Then we'll do What could we do better as our next question? This is kind of a loaded question. I think that you can think of this in a lot of ways. And I think in general, I'm gonna do a bit of a water break real quick. Um, Very loaded question in a lot of ways. Because I think the idea of what we can do better to some people can imply there was something wrong. And in general, what I will say is that I don't think there was anything wrong with the convention. Like, there was nothing egregious standing out to me. Like, this needs to be fixed. This needs to happen. Oh, 1 second. My girlfriend has gotten here. Okay, we are back. So yeah, I think this is kind of a loaded question because it implies there was something like egregiously wrong, which I don't think there was. So what I would say is that there's a couple things for me from a convention standpoint, and I don't know if I don't think I'm the one who had this opinion, but I think I heard it echoed where someone where it was like, well, it's not really a convention, right? It's kind of like a gathering of people who play the game. And this is like getting into the nitpicking of what does the word convention mean. I don't think that really matters. And I think that is a comment I heard, which I don't think I really agreed with. I think the idea that we have these like scheduled events that maybe people don't like the schedule. I think that's like weird to go to a convention and not like the schedule. I'm not one of those people, but I think I did hear that opinion, and I don't agree with it because like I don't really know what they meant. There's like developer, the con developer interview. You have like the really big multiversal Loki event. You have like this campaign that you can play through with people, and it's like a sanctioned time to do just that. If you don't have to play the campaign if you don't want to, but most of the people I would say did play the campaign and had a good time. Um, but I would say within that criticism, I think there is like a kernel of truth of maybe they want the events to be more prominent, or maybe they wanted something with the event schedule or the calendar to feel more grand. I think having a dev panel interview and stuff is awesome, and I love that you guys have got that recurring going on consistently. But I think that there was some things that were brought up after the con that maybe have some merit to it. So the first one I would say, and this is one that I think I brought up to you, Hone, specifically, was the fact that the theming of the event felt maybe weaker than last year. So the theme of the event was kind of like resistance versus registration. We got the mats that were all themed around it. We got like the standard leaders, which I think was super cool. And I think that theming stuff was really awesome. We got two new leaders, both resistance and registration. That stuff was awesome. But when we're thinking about how that tied into the event as a whole, with kind of the registration versus the resistance at the end of it, there was a lot of people who didn't even know that was like a mini side event going on. That it was either at the end of Friday, that it was like, oh, we're supposed to fight like Civil War leaders or like the new con leaders and log our games. I think I was maybe one of the few people logging the games. I think at the end of it, it was like 20 games on the registration versus 30 of the resistance. And there were so many more games played than that, at least in my opinion. So for me, what I would say in terms of if we want something interactive, which I think is a good thing, I think being able to see in real time kind of, the tug of war, or like who is winning kind of like the Civil War or whatnot would be really cool. It just has to be more discoverable. I know people hate QR codes, they look ugly. But like even having a QR code in the middle of the table is like taped down or something, right? This is a hotel. I don't know if you guys own the tables or the sheets or not. But having these QR codes or like reminding people on the PA, and that's another system that we'll get to in a second. But um, we're doing I'm sure you guys did call it out, but it's also hard to hear. Just a constant reiteration of like, this is registration, this is resistance. Log your games, play some games, have fun. I felt like it was kind of a miss, not necessarily because it was a bad idea, but because people just didn't know about it. I think in general, a very common criticism is that the speakers are um, they leave much to be desired. If you are beyond like 2 or 3 tables from the front, you essentially can't hear a single announcement. I don't really know what you can do about that. I wish I could say like I have the answer for something like that. But um, I don't. I I don't know if it's just like getting maybe better PA system, or getting, bigger speakers or a better mic or something like that. Tony seemed to do a pretty good job of talking into the mic clearer. Yeah, it's really hard to hear. I'm one who kind of likes the table hop, so when I'm in the first 2 rows of tables, I can hear those announcements just fine. When I'm in the back, kind of 3 or 4 rows, it's just it's the Charlie Brown teacher noise. I just can't understand it, and I just have to like intuit or guess or ask like people on the table behind me. What did they say? What are we talking about? What are we moving on to? That is definitely a struggle. Another thing that people brought up, and again, this was not a problem for me. We're looking into options equipment for next year. I'll say AV at hotels is highway robbery. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they're like, oh yeah, we have AV. I assume you mean like it's really expensive, and I get that. Um, or that it's highway robbery, as in like it's really bad and it's really expensive. It's probably both. Um, but um, I would say, yeah, I would say AV is a good investment in general. Um, yeah, it's just I couldn't hear anything. And so this also, before I was gonna move on to another thing, but before I move on from this one, I think something that would be super cool, and especially for kind of this resistance versus registration, again, you have to be in the area. I know you and Kennedy Hawk are not from the area, so you have to coordinate with people in the area. But like having a screen, like imagine not even a QR code in the middle of the tables, not even reminding people to fill out the registration versus resistance, but having like a screen that is like the live bar of like the tug of war, right? I thought it was cool that we had like the teacher easel for like the Loki thing. You saw all the damage being dealt to him. I thought that was super cool, right? Um, but having you get charged 5 hours with labor for setup and tear on each day to use the built-in sound system. That is insane. That is robbery. That is crazy. Nah, no way. Wow, that is wild. That's crazy. But yeah, no, just like having a screen. Maybe someone has like this random TV. Maybe again, projector might be a bit expensive. You don't know what the venue looks like. You have something that pulls down from the ceiling. But like having a screen that had like the tug of war, or maybe has like a rotating schedule. You build like a really simple app. Like I'm not saying you have to build like a website or something. It's like it has the time on it, so people know what time it is, and it's like the events kind of scroll as the days go on. Something like that to like really bring that kind of like event together, right? Like obviously everyone knew we were playing the Loki event because there was a big announcement. We had the big whiteboard, but something like that consistently. It's like it's 9 a.m. right now. We're in free play, and then it's like when it's went over to 1, we had like the schedule listed out. It's like it's time for the campaign. Or it's like when we were in that Civil War thing, maybe that schedule, that screen changes to like, these are the number of games logged in resistance. Just something that brings the experience. I love the banners. I love the registration resistance banners were cool. But having like maybe a visual component where people can see the schedule, and the AV being a bit better, so they're more into kind of like the con and the con events rather than just having fun playing the game. I think that could be something really cool for people who may have felt a bit kind of disconnected from the schedule, who are like, well, I don't really see like a lot of people doing the registration stuff. Like, is this something people are actually doing? Are people actually doing the campaign? I had heard from a couple people that they decided to try one of it, and they were like, okay, but my group was kind of like over it. We didn't know if we were playing. Just things like that. I think really help bring it in together. That I'm trying to be realistic about costs here that aren't like big developments. What about text, group chat messages, and updates or push notifications? I think that could be cool. I think using kind of the chats on the Discord was cool. Um, I wonder if there's a way to use that at more aggressively. Maybe the thing is like I want to be away from phones as much as possible on a weekend like this, which is why I think having it a screen providing you that information without having you look at your phone. Again, this is another reason why again we got the vlog. I'm gonna be editing that. Hopefully it'll be up this weekend or sometime next week. It's not anything crazy. I don't think it's as big or grand as my vlog last year, but having this physical reminder in my pocket to record stuff when I was kind of walking to get food or going back to the hotel room to talk and chat about the game was super cool. And I loved not looking at my phone for like 4 days straight. I literally just was not. It was, in a world that is so increasingly digital and tied to the phone. It was a really nice change of pace to not have to look down, as often as I have. But yes, I think that's a good idea, Rain, that just some way to get people into the events, get people onboarded fast and playing the events where it doesn't feel like they're being maybe left out or not sure of what the other people in the room are doing. That being said, you can't make everyone play custom content. You can't make everyone play the campaign. You can't make everyone do the Civil War event. People are going to be there with their friends and they're going to play what they want to play. But I think trying to get more people into the fold, I think that Civil War thing, the resistance registration could have been super cool. Could have had like maybe a winning graphic, a losing graphic, and maybe it was like, oh, it's like here's the custom graphic for Civil War winning or like the resistance winning and the registration losing, and they're like mats you can print out, or maybe there was some like you could raffle off like registration wins or something like. So much stuff I think you can thematically tie in that aren't super expensive. That could be cool. Another one that I saw echoed a lot, and again, I'm gonna move on from kind of like the event stuff because I think in general I had a lot of fun with the events, but I think the discoverability can be an issue for some people, and I think it's something that can be kind of fixed. Kind of, I wouldn't say it's easy, but there's definitely solutions to fix that problem. A big one I saw kind of echoing around channels after the con was new player discoverability, new player onboarding, and everything in between. So I remember last Con of Heroes, we had that icebreaker. I know you and Kennedy Hawk and probably the team have been talking about it, and you already said that it was probably a mistake to not have it this year. Again, for me, it wasn't a problem, but I think it is important to listen to kind of those voices who are talking about this. I think it's really important to have people feel I think the custom epic carnage scenario really helped. I do too. I think the fact that everyone was in this multiplayer scenario with custom con content really felt like part of a whole. I think that whole room was playing it last year was super cool with the counters and whatnot. Also, since the room was a bit smaller, I think it was the same PA system. It was a bit easier to hear. The carnage scenario multiplayer was awesome last year. I agree. Couldn't pull it together this year and pivoted to the custom standard leaders, which I think was good. I like that. But going back to like people have been talking about this icebreaker stuff, and I think I agree. I think it should have been there. I think there was probably a lot of people who were playing solo, coming from solo for the first time. The con is as big as it's ever been. A lot of people's first cons that could have felt kind of awkward, just trying to break the ice, talk to people, get to know people, and sit down for their first game. I think once you're into that first game, it's almost like the barrier's broken. People are asking you and calling you over for games all over the venue. But really getting into that first game, being able to talk and chat with people about this game, it can be hard for a lot of people to get over that initial hump. I know it was kind of difficult for me last year, but as a returning person, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get games again with all these guys I played with last year and all these new people I can get in games with. So it wasn't a problem with me. Again, it's also very unique for me because I'm a YouTuber, so people know who I am to an extent. It's also even easier for me to find games because people will be like, I love the video, let's get a game later, let's do this. So like I always have games coming and scheduled and planned. And that's not the same for everyone, especially if it's their first con. They're traveling alone. And so I think it's an important thing to get that icebreaker down and going. I know someone kind of suggested that like speed dating, but like speed champions type thing where maybe pillars in the community, people with channels, people who are con veterans can sit down, play like a 2 to 3 player skirmish game or like a 2-player skirmish game, introduce themselves, ask them where they're from, get them into the con mood as like a mixer or something at the beginning, icebreaker. That could be something interesting. We could also do something along the lines of what's it called? Another really great idea I think is just kind of related to this is kind of the looking for game table, or maybe even like a looking for game. Again, this is like a lot of onus on you guys to print and make stuff, but like little things, you know how you have the little things to take pictures with the whole cans, the little like party favors that you can take selfies with. Something that's as simple as like looking for game, or like there's a table that have all these things you can hold up that are like looking for game. You hold it up, you walk around with it. So it's just so like people don't have to like, it's kind of awkward when you kind of look at you ask people who are sitting down alone and maybe they have like a 4-player game scheduled but none of the people are there yet, kind of reducing maybe the friction. Try to run standard, everyone else does skirmishy, you're paying attention. It would be a standard game with me because we would still be done before the skirmish is next to us. Um, no, I just think there's like options for discoverability and new people, right? We just want people to feel, I think, welcome in the space and not get over that social anxiety or that maybe people may or may not have. And they're kind of solutions we can try that can be implemented or being tried to be implemented and see how they work, get feedback on them, and just keep iterating it. Again, this is not a problem. I'm not speaking from a problem I myself had, so I think it might be important to reach out to those people who had this maybe criticism or suggestion and see what they think would work best. I don't think this will ever be a problem for me as I continue to attend these cons and become a veteran of it and recognize so many faces year over year, people who are also veterans. It's easy for me to talk to and get a games with, but for all the new people, which again I think the game is growing, the con's as big as it's ever been, it might be good for the future to just get those systems in place, thinking about them and running for the next year. Past that, I'm trying to think about anything else here. Hmm. In general, I think you guys did well in terms of, dealing with, you were dealt with, the hotel has rules for food. I love that one of the days we got kind of like those pretzels for free. I think the cookies were also free, but I didn't know that, so I didn't take any of them. I think that having food provided right next to the con station is super clutch for people who just want to get a ton of games, and I think shout outs to that. I know there were some criticisms about the area being right next to a pool and maybe like this chlorine smell. Maybe I'm like nose blind or like I'm around too many pools. It didn't bother me, but I thought the venue was really cool. I thought it was cool. We're kind of in this coliseum, but I would definitely investigate kind of those concerns. I thought the venue was cool. I think it has space for us to kind of grow in, but also I do think that there was some validity to some of the criticisms of, on that Saturday night specifically. Man, it was really loud in that room because there was a lot of people in that pool. But I think that you guys already have the answer, which kind of goes back to communicating and conveying information well. I don't think those quiet rooms were used a ton. I think they were used a good amount. I saw people in them, but they were never they never felt full, which I think is a good thing because it's a quiet room. You want to be able to talk, have more intimate conversations, chill conversations. But yeah, I think those quiet rooms are an awesome addition. I hope they're utilized more the next year. Again, maybe something as simple as throwing a banner like the registration resistance banners in front of kind of the balcony if you can see them from the ground floor, so people know that those rooms are part of the con without having to read like a resource online or have to talk to somebody who's in one of them or inviting them to one. Just being able to be like, hey, these are also rooms you guys can get games in. Little less, maybe little less rough on the senses, little less noisy. I think that'd go a long way because again, it's all about conveying information. How do we convey information? I think there's definitely improvements on that front. In general, I thought it was a really good time. I think we can move on to the next question unless you have a very pertinent thing you want to ask me in general, but I think that's all for my kind of what we could do better type of answers. Okay. I think these two are kind of the same. These are kind of the same question. I think I'll answer them at the same time. So let's talk about FFG. So what would you want FFG to do? So I think it was super cool what they did this year. First of all, I love the panel. I love the fact that last year they did a little event where he was guessing the icons. I thought that was super cool. They had their own little like mini game. I don't know if that you guys did that. They created that. I'm pretty sure you guys probably created that. It was still super fun to do that right after the panel and then take part in. I thought that little event was really cool. Again, it's like one of those things that's outside the game that I think was just like a really fun kind of mini game to do. That was a last con. This con, I love the panel. I love the fact that they seem to put more into it. They kind of had like the branding. They had the Fear No Evil box. Had these really fun questions to kind of ask them. And I also did really love the fact that you guys got a reveal. I think that was awesome. Super cool surprise to like drop the Cloak and Dagger mention. It was already on the website. Of course, nobody had seen it because no one knew you guys were getting a reveal. So I thought that was awesome. I think if they can do a small reveal, it doesn't have to be a box reveal or anything like that, or a hero reveal. If they did do that, I think it would be really good to get people going to Con of Heroes. Again, I'm not on the marketing side, so I think marketing wise, it's probably not smart for them to do anything bigger than a card reveal at a convention like that, unless they started like really sanctioning and supporting it. But what do I know? I'm not like a professional in the field. They did the trivia without telling us beforehand. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that I thought that was really cool by them. I thought like the little icons was just like really fun. Um, Again, I think for them, I think having a reveal for the people at the con is really important. Maybe next year it's a hero card reveal or an ally reveal. Maybe something. This year it was an ally reveal. So yeah, again, maybe next year it's a hero card reveal or something like that. So I think that I think it's really cool they did a reveal. I think it'd be really cool if they continue to do that. If they did any more than that, I think that'd also be awesome. But I don't think they need to. What went well with them? I thought it was super cool. I didn't know this until after they were done playing the games that they were playing Daredevil and Echo on the floor. I thought that was crazy. I thought that was awesome. I wish I got a chance to sit down. I heard they let people play Daredevil and Echo, which was super cool. I wish I wasn't like in midst of a game or trying to get back to that Enchantress game that ended up being a skirmish. I would have really tried to kind of get my way in there. I'm super excited when they said we could get a review this year as one of my asks. It's awesome. I think it was great that you asked that. Again, I think the panel alongside the review, alongside the autographs, having a dedicated autograph time, get people to chat with them before and kind of after the panel ended was super cool. What do you wish they did otherwise? This one's kind of hard. Sorry, you're too popular. Nah. I was just in the middle of a game. I was just in the middle of a game, and I thought we were going to go back to finish it, and we didn't finish it. So if we weren't in the middle of the game, if we had just picked it up before the panel had ended, maybe I could have got a game with them. Tried Daredevil and Echo. It's all right. I'll play them in July, a week early, when I make the Schizo drive up to Austin. What do I wish they did otherwise? I think it would be really cool. Again, this is like pipe dream stuff. I think it was awesome that they gave us the kind of promos and whatnot. I think that if they gave us promos that they were maybe thinking of doing for Gen Con, that would be pretty cool. So kind of having a Gen Con slash Con of Heroes type promo. I'm sure that the promos this year will be maybe for Shadowlands, the villains, or maybe alt arts for the Fear No Evil characters, or maybe they don't do promos this year, but I assume they will. It'll be the full art cards of the Fear No Evil villains. Of course, the box isn't out yet, so it'd be really awkward to do that at this time, but maybe if the box timing works out well to get some of those like promos for the con meant for like Gen Con or something would be really cool. Again, I love that they did that this year, so again, this is really nitpicky. Again, there was another pipe dream of someone who was like they hand out kind of like starter decks. Did you get a chance to look at the Fear No Evil box? I was surprised they brought all that stuff. No, I did not. I think that what I didn't get a chance to look at it. I heard that the comic was inside, but the heroes weren't. I didn't get a chance to inspect it. I didn't know we could touch it. I didn't want the FFG police to come after me, but I thought it was super cool that they had the box there if you wanted to like Agua it basically in the 2 month wait we have until the box releases. Again, like maybe custom promos or even like, spoiler free decks. So like if they had decks of like Daredevil or Echo that they let people hand out to play, maybe like a couple demo decks, have someone kind of watch people play them so people aren't swiping cards. But yeah, a couple demo decks would be cool. Again, I think that'd be super hard to do. Maybe it would be specifically at like the front of the con, and you need more staff to do this because they don't want PR nightmare marketing, all this stuff. You don't want stuff to get out. What I mean, like specific demo decks, is like, coordinate the reveal season with the con, like them having a plan for what's gonna be revealed, making decks that have like either blank cards or like double resources in turn replaced with cards that haven't been revealed from the kit yet, or if the full kit is revealed, just letting people play them with like the core box cards. I think that'd be super cool. I know they have their reveals and they want to do their reveals and have their hype season. That's very important, especially from a marketing perspective. I think it'd be super fun if they had like sneak peek type things. And again, they had that in a way this year when they were playing Daredevil and Echo and letting a few people do it. I think that on a larger scale, kind of like when you go to like a PAX and you get to like demo a game, I think that would be super cool. Maybe like a demo play of like 1 to 2 turns is like Daredevil or some, I don't know, a skirmish against like Rhino, Something like that I think could be kind of cool. Other than that, I think I was very pleased with FFG kind of they're showing out at the con this year. I thought what they were doing was super cool, and not a lot of complaints. I think I might have covered this. Um, so what I would say in general, um, I it's kind of hard for me to remember how structured 2025 was, but I think 2026 is definitely on the other end of it. Rather than the one really big multiverse Loki scenario, it felt like everything was a lot less structured. I think there's pros and cons to that. I think pros are a lot of people do want to just sit down and get games with people they know with content that they understand. I think it's good to not make them feel like they're forced to do the custom content or forced to participate in an event. Hero pack with revealed cards and ending cards are replaced with Deadpool cards, the same X number. Yeah, I think there's just like really fun things they can do to like have demo decks, get people excited. Their most excited fans playing the new heroes a bit early. I think would be super fun and super interesting. Um, like I said, I think my answer to this question specifically is I like the optional structure. Have something that really displays the schedule each day, whether it's a screen or something you print out like one of those banners. And you have updates being like, this is starting now. And I'm sure you guys are doing it on the PA, but again, if I'm in the back of the room, I can't hear that stuff. Just something just like if people want to participate in the events, my answer to this is if people want to participate, it should be very easy and the least friction possible. And if they don't want to participate, make it non-intrusive. Now that kind of sounds like we're writing a fine line, but I don't necessarily think so. I don't think a QR code on a table for the resistance for registration is intrusive. I don't think a screen showing like a bar of the resistance or registration fighting through the games played isn't intrusive. I think maybe if the PA system was like a reminder every 10 minutes about the event would be intrusive. It's just stuff like that. Just make it to the people who want to interact with the events and the content, make it easy for them to do so. In my opinion, and I think I've shared this with you, going to a website to find a link to another website to log games was not easy in my opinion. Oh, an idea I had for this resistance registration specifically was like doing a ballot box. Imagine you handed somebody a card, kind of like the bingo cards everyone got from Bananas in her awesome standard and expert set. Imagine you handed someone a card that was like, this is for the event tomorrow at 5. They don't have to do it. They don't have to fill out the event. Say they do, and it's like, how many games did you beat a resistance leader? How many games did you beat a registration leader? You have a ballot box. You throw them in the box. Now it's no phones. It's not intrusive. People just write down tallies. Super easy to input. Again, they can do the team name if they want. And again, I respect the people who built out the website. But there's other ways that you can like build out these tallies. And then as they come in, again, this is something that you can do on your own time. Maybe it's a lot of work to put on somebody to count it up. Put it in a box and boom, at the end of the con, it's all tallied up. We get that number at the end of each day. We get the tallied up numbers of like how is the resistance faring, how's the registration faring. We get a daily update maybe if someone wants to do that. That could have been a way to make it like unobtrusive, but also really connected to the experience of playing the con. And that's all I really have to say about that question. Did you miss not having a custom epic multiplayer? I thought Carnage was super cool. I know people had their criticisms. I had mine of my own of when we finally sent it home with you to tally up on the live stream. That would be crazy, just counting numbers, right? People had some criticism about Carnage, especially when we were doing the epic multiplayer and we finally flipped into the second stage, and then it was like there was a damage cap. And so I know there's definitely criticisms there the last time. But in general, I thought having your own custom multiplayer thing, a reason to kind of like come to the con and really be engrossed in the scenario, I thought it was super cool. And I do think it was a bit missing this year. I liked the standard leaders. I really liked Hawkeye. I really liked Spider-Man. But I think the fact that Carnage, everyone was fighting this one. No one had any idea what was going on, which can be a hindrance and a help at the same time. Was really fun, really thematic to defeat them as that big group of people. And defeating Loki also felt a similar thing, but you guys didn't create Loki. I fought Epic Loki before. It's fun, it's a good time. But the Carnage one was definitely interesting, and I think it was missed for me. Now, do I think it was missed overall? I don't know. This is the opinion of one person. You probably have to tally it. But I think the fact that it was able to play single player and single table and also multiplayer, I got to play it twice or three times during the last con, twice in single table and one in the epic multiplayer. I think making a scenario like that again would be really cool. And now that we know we have like kind of FFG's take on it, we had our original Carnage take on it, now we can do another take on it. I think there's definitely room for really interesting opportunities and feedback there. How can we track games better? This one's interesting. I think physical tracking, that ballot box, is maybe a similar question. That I have is maybe a similar answer to this. I think a lot of people, specifically me, want to be on my phones as least as possible over the weekend. So tracking on your phones might be tough. There was a lot of people with very physical notebooks. I had one. I know Boom Guy NDR had one. I know a lot of people I played with had one, but also a lot of people had their phones and they were tracking games on like BGG or Marvel Champions trackers. They were asking like what mod sets, what heroes, what my name was, right? All these things like that. And so I think having a physical option, I really like filling out the bingo card. I think those bingo cards are awesome. I'm so glad kind of Bananas picked up the mantle from like Marcel, who I didn't actually see this year. I just love it. It just encourages more games and encourages different types of games. I think having something for tallying your games, it's like this many games played, you get like a, I don't know. I'm not trying to add more cost on you guys, but you get like a sticker, or you get like your name on this like plaque or something, or like you get to sign your name on this big flag. Like, I don't know, something that encourages game tracking and like things like that. The bingo card is one of those things that I think encourages it. Really thinks about games you play. These physical things, these physical tokens that you can kind of mess with and write on and like put notes on. I think that's really cool and something that I think maybe is missing from con itself. Did I use a quiet room? I would say no, I did not. Minus Sunday morning when it was Kennedy Hawk, and again I forgot the gentleman's name that I had a great Riftbound game with. Um, I did not use it except for Sunday morning, but they were effective. It was very quiet in there as the only people in there. Yeah, I thought it was a good time. I think the quiet rooms will be used a ton more next year. Again, I think discoverability was a big thing for a couple of things at this con. Discoverability of the resistance versus registration website, discoverability of the quiet room, and discoverability of all these other things is definitely something important to look into, and something that gets better as more cons happen. I think the quiet rooms are a great idea, and making them more discoverable and more known, I think, is only a positive. Finishing off, should we use the rooms differently? This is a really interesting question. um I think that there is an opportunity. I don't know how many rooms we're gonna have, that the epic, hmm I would say like it'd be a cool idea to have like an epic multiplayer room for like the pods firing, but I would say that would make it even harder to maybe find the Loki scenarios. I heard from a lot of people outside of like specifically Saturday morning, it was hard to get like a Loki pod to fire. I know there was set times, but again, we did have it on that board, but I would say that there probably wasn't a ton of epic multiplayer Loki firing. I don't think that's necessarily anyone's fault. Maybe people just didn't want to play it. People wanted to play normal scenarios. But I think there's ways that we can adjust the space that I can't really think of right now. I think having the quiet rooms is really important. I think PvP, there's a discussion on that, whether should PvP have taken up the quiet rooms, because maybe people just assumed it was the PvP room the first night and they didn't go to check them out anymore. It might have been a missed opportunity, but for them. But in general, I think the rooms being used the way they were was fine, and I did like the inclusion of a quiet room. I think it's super important for people who want to get away from all the noise, and also get maybe like more intimate, more kind of chatty games in later on in the day. In general, I think that's really all I have for kind of this recap kind of stream. I've been yapping for about 2.5 hours, going on 3 hours. I didn't know if I was gonna make it. PvP was a separate room. Oh, okay. So I didn't know that. Cause again, I didn't really use the room. So thank you for letting me know that. Um, yeah, I did not know that. That's good. So that's a criticism that I made up. That wasn't even a thing that that happened. That's awesome. Um, yeah, maybe PvP, a really casual PvP event, or like a PvP dedicated. I don't want to say an area. I don't think PvP is gonna be that crazy unless Shadowlands turns out it's an actual Daredevil leader, which is able to be mixed and matched with the PvP sets, which I kind of doubt. Well, maybe that's something that happens. Maybe PvP is a hit and it goes off, and we get more custom PvP leaders this time around next year. I just don't really expect it to be happening, in my opinion. I think you guys put on a great event. I think putting on an event is much harder than it looks from the outside looking in. And I know you guys are great people and you don't take, criticisms personally, and more as a way to kind of grow and improve kind of this con that we all have a ton of fun going. I think the con is only ever going to keep growing. I think they already said Fear Rebel isn't cross compatible with Civil War. So there you go. I think pushing back on that a little bit, I think the reason why they say that, and this is the thing that deals with marketing and stuff like that, I think you could probably, in my opinion, I don't know anything about Fear No Evil. Maybe there is a real reason why they're not cross compatible, but it's modular scenarios and modular villains. I'm sure you could put a Civil War leader with one of the Fear No Evil scenarios and it would work. I'm almost positive that that would work with almost nothing you would have to do to kind of finagle it on your end. The reason why I think they say that is because I think there's very specific kind of marketing wording, Marvel IP licensing stuff, that you can't have leaders in villain scenarios. So they're very, I think it was something I kind of noticed, and this is going off on a tangent, when they were talking about the live streams and doing stuff for Civil War, they were very, very particular in their wording. These are not villains, these are leaders. These guys are very iconic properties, they're very iconic characters, and they can't be known as villains even in a game where it's just like a moniker for us, right? But for a bigger IP. Oh, okay. It's more related to balance. Federal main teams will bring in counter cards, unlike Civil War. Interesting. But again, it's still just one of those things where you could still just do it, right? Like yes, you're gonna get like the scenarios that have their own encounter decks, but that's almost as the same as, like, I don't know, mixing an extra mod set in. So now, like, instead of the leader, like the main scheme say you need 3 to 4 mod sets, now bring 2 to 3 mod sets. It's just like one of those things where it's like, in my opinion, I think it's like a marketing thing. They were very specific to call them leaders every time they're on the board. They're very specific to saying in the rule book that, like, oh, well, you can only use the Civil War modular sets. You can't use like other modular sets. And it's just like all these things that feel very specific. It's like, well, you can't have like I don't know, the good guys teaming up with the evil guys and whatnot, right? I don't know. I think Fear No Evil will be able to mix just okay with Civil War. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like got my tinfoil hat theory here, but I think it'd be fine. That being said, I think this is kind of all I had for my con recap. I got to go over my con kind of day by day, reminisce on fun memories, talk about kind of my breakdown of the heroes aspect cards I played, the great people I got to get games with. It was just such a good time, right? Like I every time I go to this con, I'm left feeling more kind of enriched than the last. It was such a good experience, and I can't wait to next year. You could mix, I think, because of PvP the balance. Oh, I agree. So if you're looking at it from the PvP perspective, for sure, I would never put the Fear No Evils. I guess I'm mainly talking about the co-op side of things, where like I would never do like a Fear No Evil scenario in a PvP thing unless both sides were doing that. And then you have to do a lot of finagling at that point, because then you have to put in the choosing sides, and their side schemes don't starting to play. Yeah, that would be crazy for sure. PvP, that would be crazy. Specifically co-op, I think I was thinking here. But again, great event. Kenny Akko and Americano and the rest of you, Chris, I think, was that his name, from Marvel CB. You guys put on a great event every year. It's only ever going to get better. There's hiccups along the way. There's always things to improve. You don't know the specific thing will be missed until it fires, and then people tell you that they miss it. It's always a learning process, but I know next year's going to be awesome. I'm super looking forward to it. I think that's going to be it for the stream. I've been yapping. I haven't been talking this much since this weekend, where I was talking Mag, Chris. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, I did not know there was 4. It's only you and Kennedy Hawk are kind of like the faces. You say you like to be in the shadows, but I didn't know it was 4 people until like this year. So it's good that I know now. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for putting on a great event. Can't wait till next year. The vlog will be coming up where I'm kind of teleporting around different areas of the location, in the hotel and outside and food and whatnot. So there'll be a lot of bouncing around in that, but hopefully I get that edited sooner rather than later, and I can share that and we reminisce as the con passed and look forward to the con in the future. Again, I don't think this is actually going to be a video. I think it's kind of too long, too rambly, but in general, if anyone watches this VOD in the free time, wants to know the con experience, go out there, seek out multiplayer, have fun with people. Leave a like, subscribe if you guys haven't already. Leave a like on the stream, it helps out the channel. All that normal YouTube stuff. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. I'll catch you guys in the next video or stream or whatever's coming up. It's been a while since I streamed. It took me a while to get this stuff all set back up, but we do have it set up. Catch you guys in the next video, stream, whatever. See you guys next time. Goodbye.